seen some of you already indulging some ice cream. We do have a little ice cream cart and a snack station. We're very well cared for today. We have a flying buffet, we have snacks and food and drinks, so please do feel free to help yourselves, because it's really important to us that you feel comfortable here today. And last but not least, very important, over at Munich Room, so that's just a room next door, is a demo showcase from different healthcare companies that we've invited here today. And it's really, really exciting. They have a mirror that lets you do workouts. So if you do feel like you want to burn some extra calories, make sure to go over there. Or you get a free skin analysis, which is also really exciting. So the healthcare companies actually brought their product here for you to explore. So I do really encourage you to go over there during the networking break or whenever you have time to get to know them and have a chat with them. All right, I think that's enough of me and the logistics for now. I'm really excited to have you here. I think you're a great audience. And there are two other ladies who would now like to say hello to you too. Please join me in welcoming President of Plug and Play, flown in all the way from Plug and Play headquarters, Silicon Valley, Neda Amidi. Can I get another applause for Frederike Rohr, head of Plug and Play here in Munich. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much, Fungi, for the warm welcome, and also from our side, a warm welcome. We're super excited to see so many 3D versions here today, and that we can really connect in person and create some meaningful connections here today. And I would like to introduce you to my dear colleague Neda, who flew in from Silicon Valley yesterday till Thursday just to be here with us today after nearly 3 years. We would like to welcome all of you, see familiar faces, new faces, and really have a good day ahead. We'll share a little bit about Plug and Play and Startup Creasphere and what we actually do here in Munich and at Plug and Play. So Neda, who can do this better than the president to talk about Plug and Play? So I'm handing over to you.
Thank you, Frederike. It's a pleasure to be here after 3 years. I was checking my passport as I entered, and June 25th, 2019 was the last trip. And I was told that my passport has no more pages, and I completely forgot that fact until yesterday. So that will be on my to-do list on my way back. But it's great to be here, and we just actually had our summit in Silicon Valley about 2 weeks ago. Some familiar faces, maybe show of hands who was there. Thank you, all the folks from Roche and maybe a few others as well. We had about 2,000 people coming through each day, and that was really amazing way to kick off post-COVID, but we are still in COVID as well. But really great to be here, and really excited to be here to be a part of our events and all the other events happening here in Munich. Maybe by show of hands, who has heard the Plug and Play story? Okay, some people haven't heard it.
Not so many, yeah.
I'm going to tell it again.
Third.
But my story is a personal one. So Plug and Play is a family business, and I happen to be third-generation family member in the family business. My grandfather originally came to the US prior to the revolution in Iran and started in the Persian rug industry. Then my father and uncles came to the US as well and started more traditional businesses in real estate, plastic packaging and distribution. And we had a lucky building in downtown Palo Alto where we were running our plastic business out of, and we were renting the extra space to startups back then. These happened to be companies like Google, PayPal, Danger, and Logitech. So we were very lucky in the early days to have such great tenants, and given that we came from a Persian background and negotiating was in our blood, we negotiated PayPal Peter Thiel to pay 1 year's rent in advance, and we invested that money into the company. And that was really in the early days how we started angel investing as a hobby. About 5 of these opportunistic investments in some of our tenants. And our CEO thought, if I could do this in a smaller building, why not try it in a larger building? So in 2006, we acquired the building that we're in today with the idea of investing in more startups, so really building out our venture capital side of Plug and Play. We focused on pre-seed, seed, and Series A. Then in 2008, 2009 timeframe, when venture capitalists slowed down in investing, we started going to corporations like Roche and asking them for their pain points and matching them to startups that address those pain points. And that really started our corporate innovation activities. And then the third pillar, the first pillar that I went in opposite order, is our accelerator programs, which you'll hear a lot more from Frederike about those programs, and specifically the one here with Roche and other partners today. A little snapshot of our numbers. So we have over 530 corporate partners across Plug and Play. We are now over 600 people globally across 48 different geographies. We've invested in over 1,600 startups. So in the early days, 5 per year, but now we've ramped it up to about 200 startups a year. And we have 100 people in our ventures team that are actively sourcing for our corporate partners. Maybe a raise of hands, who is in ventures team and Plug and Play here? Excellent. I see a few other hands in the back, so it's great to have everyone here today. And what we're most proud of is our unicorns. So we've invested and have over 32 unicorns across Plug and Play. Maybe just skipping through, because I'm sure we're going to run out of time soon, but really what sets us apart from other investors is our corporate network. So we like to say that we bring not just money, but smart money to the table, in that we use the feedback from our corporate partners to make better investment decisions. And we connect our startups to corporations for pilots, licensing deals, and strategic investments. So really those connections to the corporates is what all the startups here are here for. And then we do this across 17 verticals. So we're hearing from healthcare today. We'll hear from retail, fintech tomorrow. And that's also a big differentiator, for Plug and Play, is there's a lot of overlap between these different industries, but there's also a lot that corporate partners can learn from each other across these industries as well. And I mentioned we have about 48 locations globally, so anywhere almost you can think of, there's a Plug and Play. And these are really Plug and Plays that are closer to the headquarters of our partners. And in the pandemic, we actually grew in over 10 locations where Plug and Play has been set up closer to the headquarters of our partners, where people couldn't travel during the pandemic. And it has been a big part of our growth. And then the last thing I'll touch upon, which is something that I've been really personally excited about, is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Big topic across, I would say, the globe, but in particular, I would say in the US, a lot of efforts when it comes to diversity internally, when it comes to ethnicity and race and gender. Diversity across our portfolio, and really tracking those numbers when it comes to our investments. And then lastly, training and events when it comes to diversity and diversity awareness. So really thrilled to be here. And with that, I will pass it back over to Frederike to tell us more about startup Creasphere.
Thank you. Thank you, Neda. You can stay if you want. You as you like. So now we've heard about Plug and Play in general, and please feel free, if you happen to be in one of those locations, to stop by and to connect with us. But now today we're talking about startup Creasphere and the Munich office, and we'd like to dive a little bit deeper there. So what is startup Creasphere, and what's the difference between startup Creasphere and Plug and Play? So startup Creasphere is a pilot-driven program, and we are really focusing on collaboration between startups and our corporate partners. And we are really happy that you're here today, so that our corporate partners are here. Thank you for your trust, for everything that we have achieved together, for all the success we have been able to achieve. And yeah, so a big shout out to Roche, Biotronic, Novo Nordisk, and Accenture that you're part of this platform. And yeah, we're really looking forward to hearing also from the collaboration today. So talking about what we're doing here, as already said, we're talking about these partners and what these partners have been doing in the past with the startups in the program. And we at Creasphere have also expanded in the past years already. So with healthcare, we have various offices across the globe that you can see. So from Silicon Valley to Kyoto, Abu Dhabi, Sao Paulo, you name it. And with Startup Creasphere, we've also been expanding in the past 4 years. So everything has actually started here in Munich, September 2018. I started in August, so I was there shortly before, and that's when we launched the program here in Munich on the ground. And since then we have expanded to Singapore and to Silicon Valley, and we're super happy about the trust from our partners and also the global footprint that we were able to achieve. Of course, also been going through the pandemic from on-site to virtual, and we've been doing this for the past 8 batches or 9 batches if we count batch 0, and have been having some great results here. So today again we will see some of them. So a little bit of stats around these 4 years nearly in total. So we are now coming to our 9th batch. We have 4 corporate partners. We have actually had 93 pilot projects, and by those roughly a quarter of them is in commercialization agreements. So also today the startups that will be pitching, it's great to see they will actually be talking together with the pilot owners, so the business units from our corporate partner Roche, to present what they have been working on in the past months and to see what will happen next. So today the pitch is not only on the startup but also on our corporate partners. So that's a great new feature that we're having here. Yeah, and of course a lot of meaningful connections. We are having matchmaking sessions within this program between the startups and our mentors and corporate partners, and hosting a lot of events virtually and on site. And how do these startups that are sitting here on the left, how do they actually come, from my side, actually come into this program? And it's an iterative process that is starting 4 months prior to the actual kickoff of the program, where we receive the focus topics from our corporate partners, and then together with our Dear Ventures team, find the right startups for the business unit's needs to then be invited to the kickoff, which was a couple of months back. And today is the result of this program, where we will be seeing what has happened. And it's all about those companies in the fields of advanced data analytics, clinical decision support, digital biomarkers, and disease management. And yeah, also here we have quite a global footprint, and it's great that we are able to listen to the pitches and what you have been working on in the past month. So big shout out to the startups that will be pitching today with the business units. Thank you for your courage to found the startups, for your entrepreneurial passion, and for bringing this together, because we all have the same goal, and that is to transform healthcare together. That's our mission, and that's only possible. And this is just a snapshot. We are not having everyone involved in here without these people from our ecosystem, from the team of Plug and Play, from our corporate partners, our investors, the startups, the mentors, you name them. So thank you for collaborating with us, for bringing this all together in the ecosystem. So for today, connect, ask all the questions you have, and build these meaningful connections to transform healthcare together. Thank you very much.
Thank you both so much. That was really interesting, and it's so incredibly impressive what people can do and achieve together when they share visions and when they share a mutual passion. So that's really, really wonderful to see how Plug and Play also has grown in their program. That's absolutely amazing. I am really excited to introduce our first keynote speaker of the day to you today. And we've spoken about the pandemic, and I think we all had a little bit of spare time to ourselves. Can I just ask, who of you has started a new hobby during the pandemic? Can I please see yes? Can't just be me who started macrameing. And who of you is still carrying out this hobby? Oh, that's pretty good. Good on you. Well done. Some of us might have focused a little bit more on mental health and awareness. I feel like these topics have become really, really important in our society. And to prove that these are just not only buzzwords, we invited an expert on the field. And I am very excited to learn just how beneficial mindful practices can be for our health. Please welcome founder and CEO of 7Mind, Manuel Ronnefeldt.
Hello, everyone. I think all of you, including me, we have a severe addiction problem. Can I get an estimate? What do you guys think? How many times per day do we look at our smartphones? Who thinks it's less than 100? No hand. Who thinks it's above 100? Who thinks it's above 200 even? Who thinks it's above 300? It's 250. It's more than 250. This number is about a year old. It's from a study done by Richard Davidson from the US. This number, I think, has been, I've looked at these studies over the years, and it has been at around 80, I think 7 to 8 years back. And I'm not sure, personally, whether this is a trend that I'm fully happy with my own life, because I'm definitely part of that group, looking at least 200 times per day on my smartphone, and have in mind that's just the average. So there are fully crazy ones who maybe look 1,000 times per day on their smartphones. I'm Manuel Ronnefeldt. I'm founder and CEO of 7Mind, Germany's largest mindfulness app. And I'm going to try to make you make a commitment for tomorrow morning in this talk. And on the way, I'll try to convince you about why it's good to practice mindfulness, and maybe in between share a bit of our story. Because my personal story, it's around 13 years back, and it's at the southern part of India, where as a German, back then, 2009, I still had to do a social service. I actually think it's a good idea that you force young people leaving school to work a year for society. I was able to do that in India. And I was in an orphanage, in a school. I was a teacher for English, for history, and for sports. Don't ask what qualified me 13 years back to do this, but I think I did an okay job. And when I was not teaching in school, I was living with an Indian family. And they were wonderful people. I'm still in touch with them today. But one really weird thing back then was there about staying with them. In the morning, before breakfast, in the evening, before dinner, they and their 2 little kids, back then 2 little kids, now they're studying, they sit quietly for around 5 to 10 minutes before each meal. And at the beginning, they didn't really involve me. I was too shy to ask. So after some weeks, I thought, maybe I ask, okay, you're meditating, interesting. Never done it. I've heard about it, obviously. I thought it's esoteric hocus pocus. It was not the idea that why I went to India to actually learn it, but I was there for a year. Why not try it? So I went nearby to an ashram, Coimbatore, South India, can highly recommend. And I did a 3-day crash course in meditation. And what these guys actually did there was, in these 3 days, taught me a technique of roughly 15 minutes, and literally forced me for the next 40 days, when I was back home, to do it every morning, and if I can, even every evening. And don't question it for the next 40 days, just do it. And after the 40 days, if I would like to, just abandon it. But if after the 40 days, I'm still sort of feel inclined to maybe do it the 41st day or 2nd day, I could obviously just carry on. Out of this 40 days have been more than 13 years. Also this morning, I started with my little 15-minute routine, not using any app at all. And yeah, during this talk, I try to convince you a little bit that maybe it's also not necessary that you need such a lush and beautiful surrounding to learn meditation, but maybe you can just do it tomorrow morning in your hotel or at home or wherever you are. My story then continued that I started studying in Wittenherdecke in the Ruhr area of Germany. I studied business, and just before joining the corporate world, I thought, maybe before I do this, I give just my little entrepreneur in me just one go. And maybe because what can you really lose when you're at university? Even if your startup fails, the likelihood, I think it's 8 out of 10. They fail after 5 years, and I was very much aware. What do I really lose? Back then there were no kids, there was no house to pay off. Even back then houses were cheap in Germany. Changed a little bit to today. So I thought maybe why not just do it? And I teamed up with Jonas, who's on the left or on the right from your side, and Paul, a bit of a famous German meditation teacher back then. And I thought, or we thought, if I can manage that to learn meditation, why can't all the other people do? What's the problem? Why is not everybody meditating? There's tons of evidence that this is clearly a good, well-invested 10 to 15 minutes per day. So we thought back then, 2014, there was not really an easy way into meditation. Today, I think there are plenty, but back then there were hardly any, at least in Germany. And we thought, let's try to develop such an easy way. And maybe use, paradoxically, let's use the device, which also back in 2014 causes, I would say, a lot of our distraction, a lot of our stress, which maybe we see now more often than our kids or our girlfriends or our wives or our husbands 250 times per day. And let's turn this relationship into a relationship that maybe looks like this or looks like this. And that's when we founded Sevenmind. And Sevenmind today is Germany's biggest mindfulness app. We have roughly a bit more than 3 million installs at the moment. We have 60 employees, mainly in Germany and mainly in Berlin. Since Corona, it's a bit here and there. And I think what is a bit special about us is that we try to be so easily accessible that at the end, at least in Germany, you don't have to pay for it. If you are insured by the state, which 90% of us Germans are, your health insurance will actually pay for it if you use our app just a tiny bit, so to say. And over this period of time, we're just going one slide back, we're actually available in English, in French, in Dutch, but biggest market is Germany. We've not only worked with health insurances, but we have plenty of customers in the corporate field, teamed up also with pharmaceutical companies. And one little cooperation I'm proud of, we developed individual mindfulness exercises for the German national team. So lots of the German national football players, actually, some of them, meditate before the match or after the match with some exercises of us. And I think we got sort of lucky because back in 2014, mindfulness has just started to become a hype. And we sold the company in end of 2019, and then Corona came. We maybe could have waited for 1.5 more years to then sell it, but still, we're still part of it. Still 2 founders in it, and but I think mutually it was a good idea to continue like this. But it has become all over the place right now. There's companies like Google who already 10 years ago have programs like Search and Set Yourself. SAP actually has its own chief mindfulness officer whose dedicated job is to make sure that there's a lot of mindfulness going on at SAP. And why is everybody doing this? Because, as said, the science, the backing around this is just very evident. There's lots of evidence around this. So just to cite one study, 140 people participated, and after 8 weeks of roughly taking 2 hours per week in either doing formal practice, so sit and do formal meditation, or do informal practice, which basically just means you try to be aware of you sitting there, of what kind of noises you hear, and you just try to school yourself a little bit in awareness. That's informal practice. And these guys spent around 2 hours per week doing this, and had a lot of positive changes in the process of doing so. And the conclusion is that the benefits of mindfulness, informal practices and formal practices, might be a very good first step to perceive these kind of benefits. And the time invested here was 2 hours per week. And that's just one study. There is a plethora of it to back this up. So just an inspiration, maybe purely dedicated to those guys who after me will pitch today. If you are just before a very important meeting and you may be a little bit stressed, it's a very good idea to just be aware of that. Don't judge it. Okay, I'm really stressed right now. And maybe just focus on what can you actually hear at the moment. How does my chair feel? And bam, there you are. You're doing informal mindfulness practice right now. But maybe some of you guys came in a suit, so maybe you would like, or you prefer formal practices. So if you would really formally learn meditation, what is it actually about? And I try to dump it down a little bit, it's these 3 points. You start at the very top and you search for one focus point and you decide maybe it's my breath. And you try to focus on your breath, how it's going in and out. And you will see that after some seconds, if you're really good, after 10 seconds, you will lose that focus. And if you're good, after 10 to 30 seconds, you will actually become aware, oh, I'm mentally preparing for the next holiday, but I'm not staying with my breath. And then the whole mental weightlifting, that's what you can call it, is to be aware of that and gently, don't judge yourself for it, gently shift your awareness back to your focus point, where you initially started off. And there you go. You just continue doing this for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It's easier at the beginning if you have some guidance, like a trainer, a workshop setting, or an app. But that's it. It's not much more than that. It's quite easy, but sticking with it, that's where it starts to become a bit harder or a bit more complex. But it's worthwhile. I'd like to quote this guy, the book, The Principles of Psychology, 1890, the faculty of voluntarily bringing back a wandering attention over and over again is the very root of judgment, character, and will. An education which should improve this faculty would be the education par excellence. I stole this from the homepage of Brown University in the US. They used that quote more towards their education. But it makes a lot of sense. If you train your wandering attention to gently come back to the focus point, it will not only make you a little bit stressed, it will help you in lots of situations in life and make, let's say, a bit easier. So if you are inclined to start, I would highly recommend that you start with this guy. Professor John Kabat-Zinn from the US, I would say, is the godfather of modern mindfulness in the Western world. And he has developed in the end of the 70s, beginning of 80s, MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction. And that's maybe the course that has been the most evidence, the most scientific evidence around it. It takes 8 weeks. It wants a commitment of you going someplace, being there for 3 hours each week, and practicing for 45 minutes per day. That's the time commitment you do. And it's quite heavy. But it's really good. I've done it myself. If you can invest the time, that's where I would start. If you say, doesn't really fit my schedule, no problem. Go for a long weekend. If you're heavy, if you really want to go take a holiday and do a mindfulness retreat somewhere between 3 to 10 days. 3 days, really beginner like me, back in India. 10 days, some of you may have heard of Vipassana. 10 days of total silence, that's more for the ones who really like pain at the beginning. But it's also really good. And only if you have the feeling, no, it's still, I'm not going to do it, only then, happy to have you as a customer, because that's mostly, I would say, 90% of the population who will say no to the first 2 possibilities and who start really low by just, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes on an app, no subscription at the beginning, just free. Even in Germany, you can have it free for a whole year. But to be clear, it's not the real thing. It's before you don't do anything else, obviously, an app is really good. But if you have the time and if you invest a little bit and if you take it really serious, then go and practice with some real people in the real world and carves a bit of time out of it. Now, today, I'm not using any app at all, and my time investment is just 15 minutes per day, and the initial time investment was 3 days. So I think that's manageable. So, the commitment. If you can, and if you're staying in a hotel room, I don't think anybody of you is staying in a tent, and even there you have a shower. I think most of you shower in the morning, at least at this kind of temperatures. So the science around how to build a habit says that the likelihood that we actually establish a new habit, which is a really complex thing, habit formation in us, in humans, is really tough to do. It's a bit easier if you have an existing habit, so like me, showering in the morning, and just if I want to introduce a new habit into my life, I attach this new habit, meditating for 10 minutes, just next to my existing habit, taking a shower. So what you could do, just tomorrow. You come out of the shower, you leave your smartphone, you have 249 times still to look at it over the day. Just leave your smartphone aside. If you need to use an app, put it in flight mode, just click on it, and then meditate for 10 minutes. And don't do anything else, just so that maybe the new habit in your life could become, whenever I take a shower, just right after it, I hop on my cushion and meditate for 10 minutes. And that's it. Give it a go for 30 days. If you don't like it, abandon it. Thank you. If you still have the feeling, though, that you're not convinced, I again recommend John Kabat-Zinn. He has a wonderful YouTube interview. Just type in John Kabat-Zinn and SRF. It's in English, it's also in German if you prefer German. It's in both languages. If you're rather into reading, I can recommend this book from this guy. The title suits very well the current state of world we're living in, so it's a very good read. I wish all of you, especially the startups, best of success with the ventures and a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel, so much for the insights. I do have a little something for you so you don't forget us. And remember today, I will take this in return.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. And also, I don't know about you guys, but I had to think about a meme on the internet that I saw a couple years ago, but it still resonates so much with me. And it said, never in the history of calming down did someone calm down by being told to calm down. So I feel like it's great to know that we can tell ourselves to calm down. And I don't know, I actually picked up on the hype a little bit about all the mindfulness action and meditating. And I can actually confirm that it helps. It actually helps to take 3 deep breaths next time before you go into a meeting with a colleague and you think, oh my God, not again. Just try, take 3 breaths. I feel like it helps me. Maybe it helps you. Coming from a very integral part of our health, I would like to have a look at a very integral part of startup Creasphere. Because startup Creasphere would not be where it is today without their very strong founding partner, Roche. And I feel like that deserves a round of very loud applause for Roche. Together with Roche, Startup Creasphere was founded in 2018 with the mutual vision to transform healthcare together. In batch 8, Roche business units have been working with all of the 5 healthcare startups in pilot projects, which will be showcased to you in just a bit at the heart of this event. But before that, I am very happy to introduce to you Senior Vice President and Global Head of Marketing and Innovation at Roche Information Solutions, Okan Ekinci. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Fungi. Hi, everybody. When I look at my picture, I just recognize how much weight the pandemic put on our shoulders and bellies. So, but this is my New Year, let's say, resolution for 2023, hopefully. So, I'm from Roche Information Solutions, and I want to give full credit to my team here, Jochen, Christian, and all the team from Startup Creasphere within our organization, who actually is responsible for the successful history of Startup Creasphere within our organization. And if I say within our organization, it starts with the digital team, but it spans across the whole Roche organization. And I will start with actually a few statistics, given that this is kind of a little bit looking back, but also, as this is a keynote, looking a little bit forward, to say that, yes, we have a good history to look back. So when we look at our completed pilots, since we started with this program, we have actually 59 programs within Roche only that we have run through with our startups. And it's not just that we had those pilots, which are basically the key sign that you're in Startup Creasphere, this experience that you have at the early stage with a corporate, between a corporate and a startup. It's actually then the success to go through the whole cycle and end up in commercial partnerships. So it's perhaps worthwhile to see that out of those 59 completed pilots, 28 went into the follow-up phase, and at the end we had 15 commercial partnerships. Now, what does commercial partnership mean? Because it might mean multiple different things, and if I ask any one of you, you might say, hey, it's about selling the stuff to Roche, it's about being acquired, or it's about going to customers. It's actually many of them, But the key statistic probably that I want to highlight here, I'm not sure whether this is, does this have a laser pointer? Probably not. But that you see on the right side is, it could mean Roche as a customer, and it could mean that we together go to our customers, which might be the healthcare institutions or it might be the patients. And it's remarkable to actually share that 2/3 of our partnerships, when they enter the commercial phase, are actually going now outside the company. Why is this important? And this is where, on the second part of the presentation, you will see when we start thinking about ecosystem, ecosystem is not anymore for us just thinking about who is out there who can help us as an organization, but who is out there who can help our customers, healthcare providers and patients. So we actually start changing our directionality when we look into the market, basically what we want to do with startups. I'll come back to that again in a second. Let me just take one let's say word, which is open innovation, and revisit this a little bit. I know every one of you knows open innovation because we're all sitting here and actually exercising it. But there is one important thing. When you think in our shoes as corporate about innovation, you have multiple ways to actually innovate. You could go the route of crowdsourcing, right? You could go the full way from existing technologies to new technologies, but you might not be able to really go beyond your existing markets. You could go the route of customer co-creation, which is something that corporates have started doing more and more, especially in digital. This is an important piece to understand really what your customers need, what pain points they have. However, you see that most often you stay basically on this route somewhere in the middle. So you're going a little bit beyond incrementally with your existing technology, but you're not really making those breakthrough innovations. And especially you're not going into new markets. If you look at what's required in healthcare though, and all of you, most of you are in healthcare here, you know that we need transformational innovation. We're actually in a phase of creative destruction of healthcare. A lot of things are going on, and also we corporates need more innovation that comes out of that field and helps us to actually help that creative destruction of healthcare as well. And if you look at startups, that's where actually we get that innovation into our organization. So startups play an important role in our innovation ecosystem. Now there's another aspect of open innovation, which is that if you compare it to closed innovation, you have this internal ideation, you come out with one product. You might still have some interactions with partners and whatnot. However, true open innovation allows you not only to grow into different markets, it allows also a different combination of players appearing in the healthcare market together. Why is this now more important than ever? Because we have that rearrangement going on. Payers, for instance, are looking into novel models of how to bring value to their members, how to bring value to people, not patients. That requires a complete rethinking of how you create value. And it's not about us just presenting a diagnostic test or us just presenting a drug to the market. It's about rethinking how with digitalization we can actually help create a new way of delivering healthcare. So let's remind ourselves, transforming healthcare together is our theme, and it was never as correct as it is today. So what are the three types of, let's say, value creation models that we have today within startup Creasphere? Just 3 examples, and the last one will be the one that I will go a little bit deeper. One is pretty classical. This is the historical one based on which typically innovation outreach to startups would have started. You actually want to improve your internal value chain. 3 quick examples. One, medical and scientific affairs might need post-market surveillance. How do you actually accelerate that process and automate it? So with natural language processing of Sorcero, our internal organization was able to accelerate that process. Or in pharma research, you want to actually, for instance, utilize data annotation. How could you tap into a resource there that helps you across the different research projects to have a systematic approach to machine learning and have a state-of-the-art and best-of-breed solution in this regard? That's where Labelbox helped us. And third, if you look at, for instance, global customer support, how could you, in these days where virtualization, for instance, is becoming more and more important, take some of those new technologies like augmented reality into practice? Reflect helped us to exactly do that, reduce costs, have more remote customer support, and help train the staff and reduce overall, again, cost in our internal value chain. The second approach, which then evolved over time, is to actually see how could innovation out there help us in our core business. So core business for us is what? Diagnostics and pharma. Diagnostics means diagnostic testing. So you are looking into ways how you can make sure that patients gain access to the type of diagnostic test that might help them. And in this case, here an example from BabyScript, where digital health is front and center, basically. So BabyScript is a tool for pregnant women. It helps institutions, healthcare institutions, to have remote monitoring possibilities for pregnant women. Now, there is a certain likelihood that among those pregnant women, there are some that are actually at risk for preeclampsia. So you can have algorithms that determine the individual risk of a patient. If that risk is at a certain level, you might require a diagnostic testing. Combining our diagnostic test approach with a digital remote monitoring tool increases the likelihood that these tests get prescribed and decreases the risk for preeclampsia to have a worse outcome or bad outcome for the pregnant woman. So this is again another example where you can increase value for the overall healthcare system. Now the third example is the real, let's say, new one that I want to introduce, which will probably help us to think in terms of 10x. 10x means really increasing access to innovation for patients and for healthcare systems in a fashion that we have not done before. Now, think about our devices, diagnostic devices. Glucose meter, a device like this size or a bit bigger that has one purpose or had one purpose up until recently. You basically do a glucose measurement, that's it. And a personnel in the staff or the staff in a hospital would carry this in their pocket all day for just one purpose. What if this device is connected? What if this device is cloud enabled? And what if this device gives you access to applications and other use cases for the very same staff? So the nurses that do conduct tons of measurements, tons of applications every day, what if they could use that device and provide access basically based on this device to a wealth of innovation that many of you here in the room are generating? That is for us 10x thinking. So the next frontier, if you want, for our partnerships in the future will be about how to actually make healthcare products, digital health products of each of you more accessible to patients and healthcare providers. Not one by one, but rather in a smart fashion where you can use marketplaces and ecosystems or ecosystem-enabled tools such as this one here. And by the way, this one is called Cobas Pulse Infinity Edge. Cobas Pulse is the device, Infinity Edge is the cloud-enabling platform. So devices that have a platform component that allow access for those apps. This will be the next frontier that we have. Well, if you look at our vision, therefore, going forward, what we want to do is to better understand how we can use not only startup Creasphere, but also our digital health innovation team to better not only source, but also integrate these solutions into clinical practice. I'm a physician. I do know how difficult it is to change clinical practice, right? And Manuel shared with us just a few minutes ago how difficult it is to make change individually. So we want to find ways how we can bring healthcare, change healthcare to the point that it adds more value to patients. That means also we need to better understand how do we need to remove barriers along the way when it comes to innovation diffusion. Think, every one of you, about your individual products, how difficult it is to have one additional patient or one additional healthcare provider to use one of your tools. Think what you need to produce as evidence or what regulatory barriers you need to overcome, what education you need to give, and give us please feedback as to where we can add value. So while before or in the past and today, we looked into, again, those different models that we had and we created this open innovation platform, what we want to do in the future is, again, reminding you as a red thread, if you want, for the future, a 10x thinking when it comes to how to bring these innovations faster to the patient community, using more platform orientation, and this in a fashion where we can remove barriers. So this is not just like having an iTunes type of platform where you say, I'm just here the platform and that's it. This is also about looking into, can we support startups with regards to regulatory affairs? Can we support you in generating the right evidence so that you can convince a physician to actually prescribe the digital tool? And can we look into other ways how you can create thought leadership with us so that in certain communities, certain applications are more likely to be used? That's what our vision is right now. That's where we have the first platforms that we are bringing into routine. So therefore, looking forward to the next phase of our Startup Creasphere program, and the next 5 companies will actually show exactly what we're doing these days. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Okan, so much. That was really very insightful and extremely, extremely impressive to just see how much you can achieve in such a partnership. And really, I feel like for the startups, it was really, really interesting to hear that, and also for everyone else. So if Okan did spark the idea to be working with Plug and Play, if you're not already, do feel free to reach out. Everything's about collaboration today. So if you feel like you do want to work with Plug and Play, just go on and talk to any one of them. They're happy to help and discuss any sort of collaboration with you if you like. Speaking of collaborations, we have now reached the absolute highlight of our event today. We are going to get to know all of the pilot showcases from Batch 8. I am beyond excited to get to know all of them and see the incredible work that they've been working on for the past few months. And you as an audience, you're going to have to work a little bit too, because at the end of Expo 8 today, we will be giving away an award for the best pilot showcase today, and you are going to choose who the winner is going to be. So I will ask you to listen extra carefully now, and there will be a voting at the end of today. We will go through that together. And because all of the startups today are the superstars of our event, we did invite someone to guide you through the whole showcase process, and it is the one person who makes the magic happen for the startups here. His name is Fabian Scheugenpflug, Senior Ventures Associate here at Plug and Play. He ensures the perfect matchmaking between startup and partner and business partners, and he also looks after the startup investments here at Plug and Play. I personally don't think we could have had a more suitable person to guide you through the showcases, so please welcome Fabian on stage with me.
All right. Thank you so much, Fungi, for the nice welcoming. I think there's a little bit that I need to clarify here. It's not only me. I have an amazing team here. So maybe, Max, if you want to quickly raise your hand, and Daria, to give it up to our Ventures team. And also, Okan, thank you so much for flying in all the way from San Francisco. It was quite a hustle, but we're very happy to have you here. All right. So without further ado, let's jump into the main attraction of today. We're really, really excited to showcase 5 amazing companies here to, well, show what they've accomplished throughout the last 3 months and maybe sneak peek a little bit around what's coming next for them. But before that, I would like to guide you a little bit through what is kind of the setup today, because it's a little bit different to what we've had in the past. It's not as virtual, but then also we have our setup-wise, not only our amazing startup founders on the stage, but also the pilot owners of Roche introducing the pilot and what they've accomplished. Today is a little bit different. It's not only Slido, it's not only virtual. So please don't be shy. We have secured a little bit of time after the pitches to ask questions. My dear colleague Daria is running around with a microphone, so please just raise your hand and be really engaging here. If you're anyways feeling a little bit too shy to ask in front of a huge group, we have Slido in place, and that's also for the virtual audience here. So please go to slide.do. The hashtag is Expo8, so you can also just ask questions here, and we can guide them directly to the team on stage. So, Julie, I'm really sorry I need to take something away from you. But roughly 2 weeks ago, we have been on an event, and I've learned something around attention span. And apparently, attention span is much lower than I've anticipated. So I would ask everyone, before we start with the startup pitches, to stand up and shake a little bit out. All right. So I hope everybody had a good stretch and is now excited for the first startup. So please, you can also take a seat again. I will not let you stand the entire time. All right. So to set a little bit the stage, we've already heard around Cobas Pulse, but also the first two projects that we're actually going to present today are in a field of a, also newly launched product line, and roughly 2 weeks ago, around Navify, which is the digital decision support portfolio of Roche. And that's exactly the, interface where the first company is playing. It's not only important to give as much advice as possible to the physician, but also to enable him or her to actually do the work that's needed. The first company that we're welcoming on stage is PxHealthcare, which is a companion application for patients suffering from cancer, and through that providing a lot of information to physicians to get the best care. With that, I'd like to welcome Anne and Elizabeth to the stage to give us some insights.
It's the next slide then. She's the next slide.
So since... Hello?
Do you have the connection? Sorry, we're just setting up. Are we good? Can you hear me? Yeah? All right, I'm gonna go, and she can set up the backdrop. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Little. I'm a head of innovation delivery in the Roche Information Solutions Group. And one of the teams that I support is called Oncology Insights. And just as Fabian had said, the team creates clinical decision support software for clinicians and care teams to support their patients. And specifically last year, the team launched a product called OncoHub. So you can look that online, OncoHub. And what OncoHub does is it displays for the clinician and team a patient journey so that you can see from diagnosis to treatment to testing what the patient has gone through over time. In addition, there's another snapshot that it provides for the clinician that gives a status update in real time of where the patient is currently at. And so it's a great comprehensive view of the patient and what they have been through. But what we wanted to include was really the patient input outside of the office visit. And that's where Anne's team, her PxHealthcare company, and their OWISE product come into play. Because this allows the patient, and you can download the app now, and you can play with it. But basically, it allows the patient at home to say, I feel nauseous, I have fatigue, I have a fever. And with this information in OncoHub, we can pull that information in so the clinician can see what's going on with my patient outside of my office. Because patients needlessly suffer at home. So they don't know that they don't have to have this nausea. They don't know that they have to have this fatigue so that they can give the care team a chance to help them navigate their discomfort at home without having to come to the office and having to suffer needlessly. So with that, one thing I would like to add is very important is that we were immediately smitten with Anne and her team because of their passion for this space. It's so tremendously wonderful to work with her. We knew right off the bat we wanted to collaborate. So with that, I hand off to Anne.
Thank you so much. Big hand for Elizabeth. Without Elizabeth, I wouldn't be standing here, that's for sure. So this story starts about 10 years ago. And that's the day I met Olga. Olga's a friend of a friend diagnosed with breast cancer, and what was really clear is that she had not the treatment that was intended for her. She had to have several rounds of surgery, was put on treatments and chemotherapy, but another treatment that she said, I'm the only one receiving this. I don't know anyone who's on that. And today, that's still an issue. We don't have these personalized treatments at that level just yet. So I felt we could do things differently. I'm Bruinvels, I'm a pharmacist, I'm a biomedical scientist by training, and I realized that we could use digital technology to put patient experience at the heart of delivering better cancer outcomes. So we all know that cancer is a big problem. 1 in 3 of us at least may have to deal with it in our own lifetimes, and we probably all know someone with the disease. On top of that, there's a massive increase in incidence of cancer, 70% until between now and 2034, which means that more than 25 million new cases of cancer will be diagnosed in that year. So the cost is very large. We're looking at over $1 trillion each year currently being spent on cancer care. So there are some serious pain points. Pain points are, for example, as you can imagine, loss of productivity, people having really poor quality of life when they want to return to the workforce, back into work. So that's an issue for employers and for payers. Secondly, there is really a loss, or actually a lack of integration of digital technology into healthcare. So we're looking at retail and banking, where digital apps are currently used everywhere. But do you ever see that in patient-provider communication, patient-physician interactions? So that's really where there's a lack. And then thirdly, poor clinical outcomes. It's still that many patients now, although there are fantastic new treatments reaching the market, which are really changing the outcomes of cancer, but people are still experiencing side effects and severe symptoms that really give them this poor quality of life. So we could do much better. So that's where we come in. We make, essentially with OWISE, and O stands for oncology, we make mobile tools for people with cancer, essentially, and we are the best-in-class digital solution in oncology. We dare to say. The reason is threefold. First of all, we use digital technology, digital self-management tools that is evidence-based and clinically validated to support patients from day one of diagnosis. Secondly, we improve the patient-provider communication by developing and using smart remote patient monitoring tools, so patients can immediately in real time report back how they're doing. And then thirdly, we use an aggregated, large-scale, real-world insights on how patients really perceive their treatment. Some people say what you have is real-world insights. Patients just using their phone, using their app, to trust it to give the right information back that they can share in real time with their physicians. So it's good for patient safety monitoring as well, but particularly these real-world insights will help us improving outcomes. So there we go, essentially. What would this mean for someone like Olga? Well, OWISE has been used by more than thousands of patients in the UK, many thousands, and essentially it helps her getting access to personalized medical information. It helps her to prepare for doctor's visits by having specific tailor-made lists of questions, very specific to her subtype of breast cancer and very specific to her particular diagnoses. And then she can track and trace and monitor how she responds to a range of different side effects and symptoms. And that's really what she can then, with a single push on a button, share with her care team. So they know at any time, at that moment, how she's doing. So one patient actually said, well, apart from cooking my dinner, there's not much that OWISE can't do, which is something we really like to be seen as. We're this one-stop shop for people with cancer. We also work, for example, in the field of prostate cancer, where people have a very different patient journey, as you would call it, potentially. So patients essentially need to understand which treatment is best for them. So we support them with the decision making, which is quite different. And then again, they can also track, trace, and report back how they respond to treatments. So really, what this means is that we have been doing this for quite a while. So my background is, and we have a strong track record, I was previously founder and CEO, started essentially a data mining personalized medicine company in my sitting room, brought it to the London Stock Exchange, then exited, and then started this new venture. And in this venture, I teamed up with my brother, who's actually a clinical occupational physician, someone who's specialized in the rehabilitation of cancer patients back to work. So we joined forces and took it all the way from where we are 10 years ago to where we are today. So we started in the Netherlands, moved to the UK, but in the meantime, we also made sure always we gathered clinical evidence that was then published in peer-reviewed medical journals. So we did that. We moved into prostate cancer, launched not just only in the UK with the NHS, but also in the US last year as a beta release, which is where we want to now grow further. So NHS is a great supporter of the work we do. NICE has been is the sort of FDA equivalent in the UK, has been looking at it and has used us as an exemplar. But most importantly, there are more than 5 independent clinical research groups that actually endorse what we do by publishing on it and showing the impact of OIs. So patients love it, and actually more than 90% of patients and clinicians would recommend OIs to other cancer patients. So we're really pleased with those types of outcomes. And then interestingly, we have embarked on integrating this data now directly into electronic medical record systems, such as Epic, Cerner, Allscripts. So immediately, patients can share this data, and the care team can see how patients are doing at any time without any further work done. And this is just an example of a real patient outcome chart sheet. It's like a heat map where you see green is good, amber is really borderline, but red is serious action needs to be taken. So in 25 milliseconds, cancer carers but particularly the hospital staff can see how a patient is doing and when action needs to be taken. So doctors also really like to work with it. They say it gives them an unprecedented view in how patients are doing and how to intervene with treatment in between hospital visits. So NICE, this FDA equivalent, has actually estimated in a cost-effectiveness study, this would be worth around $5,000 per patient per year. So what we've decided to do is not expand just from OIs breast to OIs prostate cancer, but really embark on covering all cancer types. So now much more about the interaction with Roche. Obviously, we're really pleased to work with them, particularly in the area where we say, OIs is the patient hub, essentially, where patients can link in different providers and different pharma drugs, for example, through software as a service arrangement. But we're focusing now here on the electronic remote patient monitoring system integrated into Navify, as Liz kindly explained really well. So Navify has this beautiful interface to show clinicians how patients actually have been doing, but particularly which treatments they have been receiving and what the outcomes are of that. And now we really start putting the patients in that story. Put the patients like Olga in that story to connect their data straight into this interface for clinicians. And that's really what we've been working on for the past 3 months. We've now agreed a phase 1 project where we want to embark on to, first of all, integrate OIs directly into OncoHub. That's technically seen all very feasible. Focus initially on the US market. And then thirdly, to select a hospital test site to integrate and to test this with the generation of further evidence. And so we tick these 3 boxes that we were told by the Roche team, and particularly by Elizabeth. Now you have to focus on 3 things. Desirability, is this what patients and clinicians want? Yes, we know that now, we've tested it, tick box. Secondly, feasibility, is it technically feasible? Well, our tech teams have been having regular, sort of almost at some stage, weekly calls. Yes, tick box, it's all ready to be done. Next phase has been planned for that. And then thirdly, viability. Can we really build now a joint business model around this? How to commercialize that? Well, in-depth talks and discussions are ongoing, and we can't wait to go to the next phase of this. So really remains me to thank you. Hope I haven't taken too much time, but really, because what we feel is important, that together with companies like Roche, we can improve the patient experience, such as Olga's experience, but also the outcomes, and not just for her, but for the millions of cancer patients around the world. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Anne. We have a couple of minutes for questions, and audience questions are preferred over Slido questions. So anyone here that has a question for Anne?
Can you share anything about the oncology areas that you're exploring?
The oncology areas that we're exploring?
Yes.
So yes, we start initially with the solid tumors, so from breast to prostate, which then jointly covers around 55% of all cancer cases, say annually around the world. And then we move into other solid cancers, lung, colorectal, and then hematological cancers, blood cancers. So, but it's all there. So we're looking to really cover almost everything in the next couple of years or so.
Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I have a question about the EMR integration, and especially in the US, and I'm particularly curious because the care team, obviously, they would love to be in touch with the patient, but they can't, they don't have enough bandwidth. So I'm kind of curious, what are the triggers that you set up? Like, what are the sort of the levels when the care team is notified?
Right. So let's just take a couple of things, pull a couple of things apart. What we have here is a medical device class 1, which means there are no active alerts being sent. It's built to engage patients and to activate them to take action following care as usual. So they notice when changes happen and take following the advice they've been given by their care team, call the numbers they need to call and take the action as recommended. We obviously work also on alerts where patients, which is then a medical device class 2, where patients and or the care teams are alerted that now a patient moves from green into amber or into red. And that's something we're testing in Scotland as we speak. And what we do to nudge patients, I mean, the feedback we get from patients is quite mind-blowing, to be honest, because when we started working on this with lots of patients in one room, started to ask what the main issues were. I mean, lots, I'm saying 5 to 8 we usually do. But we ask these patients, what do you need? And they say, well, if I'm given a treatment, I'm being told by my doctor, by my oncologist, that I need to follow all these side effects and symptoms. So yes, I have a little booklet, but I need to keep them all in my head for when they occur. And then they said if I could use an app for that. So obviously we decided to build that in the app. People can now track it. And what they report back is like, I feel my anxiety is gone. I can breathe again. I just feed in my well-being data twice a day, and I don't need to look after it other than receiving one of these alerts. So we understand now patients' anxiety levels may be reduced, but most importantly, they're nudged to take action as and when necessary. Hope that helps.
Right, so maybe we have a little bit more time for one question out of Slido. You work a lot with very sensitive data. So what do you do to ensure that there's 100% protection of that data?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Thank you, Fabian. So how do we deal with privacy and security? Well, this goes back actually to my previous company that I set up. We were working with quite a nasty deal, but post-mortem human brain material. So people like us donating brains and that information, that material being used for research. And we were called up at one day. We were working together with a New York brain bank, brain center. And they said, you've got to delete all the data you have now on this cohort. We can't, you need to delete everything from your disk. And essentially they weren't complying with HIPAA standards. We needed to immediately pull the data, which we obviously did. So from that moment onward, it was clear that we actually don't want to have any personal identifiable details in any patient databases at all. So we work without personal identifiable details. We don't need to know people's names, people's surnames, people's email addresses, people's dates of birth. We can work with year of birth. We can work with, we won't have their postcode, but we'll work a way around that. We'll find out other therapeutic information that is much more useful. So we've said we just simply don't have it. We make it super secure. Everything that patients put in the app is heavily encrypted, sometimes hashed, so it's super secure. We have several servers that need to be combined if ever a hack could take place. It's essentially impossible. You never say impossible in our world, but still, it's not easy. So yes, we've tried to build a product that can really be trusted by users and by our patients, but hopefully also by the clinicians and by our partners.
Fabulous.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you.
And really, happy that we were able to convince you to join us. It was a little bit of well, extra footwork, but we've finally made it. All right, that was the first company. We're already jumping to the next, and we're jumping into a field that I would say the last 2 to 3 years have really shown where there's a certain lack in the market. Where whenever you cannot access healthcare directly, there needs to be any sort of replacement that you can get. I'm talking a little bit here around at-home testing and the point of care move to your home environment to actually ensure at least a minimum, well, support that you can get and the minimum conversation with your doctor if needed. That's something Cerascreen is working on, and that's also the next company. If we could quickly shift slides, please. And with that, I would like to hand it up to Oliver and Sina.
Thank you, and a warm welcome from my side. It's a pleasure to be here on stage and present what we did together in the last couple of weeks. So with me I have Sina, and in the audience there's Peter. So I would like to start with a big thank you to those two, because it was a great pleasure working with you in exploring that field all together. With us today, we have engaged Olaf, the CEO of the Cerascreen, and he will give you also a little bit of an insight of what the company is doing. Actually, I would be a bad product manager if I would not take the chance to advertise a little bit of my product here. Actually, no. It's just to give you a little bit of the background why we started that endeavor together with them. It's our platform called Navify Sample Tracking, which is connecting innovative partner solutions in something which we call the pre-analytical space to laboratories. Because it's simply a fact that 2/3 of all errors in our days have in the overall testing procedure have not root causes inside the lab, but outside the lab. Unfortunately for our lab managers, they are made responsible to fix them all, because they need to deliver 100% test results. So that's why they are interested in getting their arms around the sample journey end to end. And actually, this is what our IT solution is all about. What we are currently focusing on is what I would call a healthcare setting. So imagine laboratories with remote collection sites or hospital settings. So our key guiding question was, what if we could expand what we have developed for healthcare settings now to home testing, and more precisely to home sampling? So what if we could connect patients or interested healthcare consumers at home with high quality lab testing? And that's why we started our endeavor together with Cerascreen, because we think they can complement ourselves with their experience in that end consumer business and be a trustful partner in tackling that setting specifically. And with that, I would like to hand over to Olaf.
Great, thanks a lot. Yeah, Cerascreen, what it is about. And when we first got into the interaction with Roche, we had to overcome one different understanding of what we are talking about, because on the Roche side, we're always talking about the patient, and our focus is actually the one who is still healthy. So we call him the customer or the consumer or the user, but it's already like a very critical differentiation, and it is one of our root hypotheses of our company. So I have two questions, and I want to pick up on your activation. So please stand up if you can agree with me. No one likes to get sick. Please stand up if you agree with me. Thanks, great. So someone remains seating. We can't see them anyhow. So please remain standing if you can agree with me. No one wants to get sick. Everyone wants to be healthy. Okay, we have still a room full of standing people, and that is actually what we are trying to tackle. And I want to start our approach with a quiz of 3 questions. So the first question, if you can answer it, please shout out the answer as loud as you can and make a little jump. It's good for your health. Don't injure yourself. So, great. Everybody ready? Do you know how tall you are? Shout out the answer. Yeah. There, great. Great. Okay. Everybody has a number. Now we overcame the maximum activation. Please sit down. No, not yet. Only if you cannot answer the next question. Do you know how many steps you took yesterday? If you can't answer it, please sit down. Okay. So taking steps is critical for your health. It is an indicator for your health, but I think some people are still here. Next, the last question, and then it's over. Please sit down. No, please sit down if you do not know your vitamin D level. So great. You're sitting or you're standing? Great. So I think we have around 4 people standing. So in an area of COVID, post-COVID, which of these 3 biomarkers do you think is the most relevant to protect you from an infection such as COVID? Obviously, it's probably not body height and not the steps. Sorry, I'm sorry to disappoint you. So, and this is actually what we are about. So we want to make relevant biomarker available to people who are healthy, but who also want to remain healthy. And we do this with medical labs because they provide the quality, the reliability, and the trustworthiness that we need to convince our customers and our consumers to follow our recommendations. And yeah, we do this, we don't stop only at the biomarkers, we also help our consumers and guide them to taking the next step, so improving their vitamin D level, for example, and then improving their health and helping them to protect their health. We do that in 20 countries, in the US and in Europe, and we do this since 10 years, so we have a lot of insight into our customers and into our consumers. And yeah, this is why we appreciate the collaboration with Roche so much, because it brings together the in-depth understanding of labs, of lab processes, and of lab automation, and of the requirements of lab owners and companies who run labs. And we can combine it with the insights of our consumers, so we really know what they need. And it's very different from a patient, because they need to understand the results themselves, and they need to understand how they can take action. And this is actually what this project is about. So bringing together this competence, amazing competence of Roche with our understanding to create insights that are really meaningful to protect your health. And how we do this, I pass over to my dear colleague, Sina.
Thank you. So, here a little summary of what Olaf actually explained. So, yeah, how did everything started with Roche? So, in the beginning, we tried to define our value propositions. So I think for Roche and for Cerascreen, there are different values that we try to meet with that cooperation. And for us, as you can imagine, that is a market segment with COVID-19 that has been boosted a lot. And with that, we definitely have a higher need for lab integration. So we provide a end-to-end digital journey, and that is actually for the laboratories nothing really common. So laboratories usually work in a different business segment than with B2C customers. So yeah, here we definitely have our value proposition, so that is lab access integration and the IT connectivity, where we now come to Navify. So I think you also want to say something about that, right?
So yeah, my take here is just that we, on the counterpart, see that trend that lab customers want to expand their offerings, test capacity, to home settings. And that's the win-win situation we would like to explore all together. So they have testing capacity, but they struggle with this unknown home and end consumer setting in their business.
So what you can see here is a typical model that we try to put on that slide here. On the left side, you would see how the customer is actually able to buy a self-test kit on our website. So everything would remain with us. So the logistic, of course, the customer journey, and the sample collection at home, at the customer's home. So on the left side, there you see the pre-analytical part. On the right, very right side, you see actually our main product that we want to focus on, that we are currently focused, and of course in the future want to focus on even stronger, and that is the result reporting. And the result report contain individualized recommendations for health. And yeah, as I said, this is what we want to focus on. What we do not want to focus on is the expertise on the laboratory part. And this you can see in the middle. So Navify would for us enable to homogenize all the different labs for all our different parameters, to have them in one system. So you can probably imagine different laboratories have different requirements and different challenges we face. So Navify would enable us to have everything homogenized and to have at one place. So what did we do in the past? As I just said, we defined different value propositions. So for us, that would be, as I said, the IT connectivity. For Roche as well, IT connectivity. For the labs, IT connectivity, and a new market segment. So laboratories are usually used to work with B2B customers, and Cerascreen would display the market segment of B2C customer. Yeah, the value proposition for our patients, of course, would remain the same, and even have a full traceability of their sample. So for the short-term goals, I just explained the slide before. For the long-term goal, even, we would like to expand, yeah, maybe some alternative sampling types together with the Roche cooperation. The next steps would be now to even propose that concept to laboratories, to receive feedback, and then to even enhance our business concept on that. So actually, that's it for now.
Thank you so much. We're actually at time, but I think we can squeeze in one question. How do you generally see the home sampling market developing at the moment, especially talking about what we've kind of introduced you with under those circumstances?
Yeah, so we started 10 years ago. Home sampling was, we were really the first ones in Germany, in the DACH region, and there were really complicated competitors in the US, where you always had to go to a medical practitioner to have the sample taken. And yeah, we have been growing constantly, so there is a growing demand. And our main difficulties and challenges up to COVID were to explain that it is possible to test from home. And of course, unfortunately, COVID solved some kind of the problem for us, as everybody now knows that sample taking and getting a reliable insight into a biomarker is possible even without a doctor.
Thank you very much. Oliver, Olaf, Sina, thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Okay, no activation needed anymore from me, I believe. Maybe I'll just hand it over to Julie later to do that. We're now shifting the limelight a little bit more into the direction of data, and especially something that is very critical when it comes to R&D, but also in highly regulated environments, actually accessing data. Because the foundation of what most of the things that we've seen and most of the things that we've explored through the startup Creasphere and in digital health in general are data accessibility, data sets where you train models on them to get certain insights. In that area, our next company and our next collaboration is. So it's my pleasure to welcome an old friend to the stage. Asad, you've been with us probably most of the projects. And Pierre, Decentriq, I would like to welcome you here on stage.
Thank you, Florian. Yeah, I've been with the Creasphere for many years, and I'm glad that we are back meeting in person after 2.5 years virtual events. My name is Asad, and I am. My name is Asad, and I'm Data Privacy Technologies and Solution Consultant at Roche Information Solutions. The topic we're going to talk about today is about data privacy and then the challenges that it brings. And who knows better about this than the healthcare industry as we deal with this very sensitive data day in, day out. There are many challenges in data privacy. And what we try to do in this pilot is to pick part of that challenge and try to solve that in an innovative way. And collaborated across the organization to understand this challenge in its depth. So what we are going to talk about today or illustrate today is a topic which our biomarker teams deal with it almost on a usual basis. It's when we are collaborating with health institutes and they want to share data with us. Even when they are willing, it's not always possible, not just because of the regulatory requirements, but also because of the trust. Because not every data custodian is comfortable letting the data out of their environment. And to that direction, we collaborated with Pierre, and it's been a great experience, really great ideas coming in. We co-developed a solution to solve a very niche problem that we face. And with that, I will hand it to Pierre to dig deeper into the problem. And thank you.
Well, thank you, Asad. So, I'll be telling you today what we did together with Asad and the rest of the diagnostics team. So, I represent Decentriq. We will be talking today about data clean rooms. Probably it's going to be the first time in this room you'll hear the term. I guarantee you, not the last. So, first of all, what is the problem we address at Decentriq? The problem we address is the problem of data collaboration between organizations. We talked a lot about data today. Take organization A, organization B, a hospital, Roche. They each want to collaborate, have sensitive data. How do they work together? Typically, when such collaboration takes place, issues like complying with the regulation arise, controlling costs, so involving legal paperwork, third parties, guaranteeing the security of the data at all times. You don't want any leakage of patient data. That's the last thing you want. And finally, controlling. You, as you collaborate as organization A, such as an hospital, you collaborate for a specific purpose. You want to control how the data is being used, and only for this particular usage, the data should be used and nothing else. So that's why we built Decentriq. So Decentriq, for context, we call ourselves the Switzerland of data. So we are headquartered in Zurich. We offer a data clean room software as a service platform powered by confidential computing, probably yet again a term that most of you haven't heard. Again, first but not last, it's a new technology on the rise that guarantees that data is encrypted at all times during collaboration between different parties. We are being trusted in the most regulated environment. So starting in healthcare, that's why we're here today. We also work in the public sector with the Swiss Army and also in the financial services space. So I spoke about data clean room. Now let me tell you what this is, because you may wonder what is this mystical term. The concept is actually very simple. A clean room is simply a secure environment where you take data owners on the left side, one or multiple, say, hospitals, who want to collaborate with data analysts on the right side, typically users at Roche Diagnostics. How can such collaboration can happen with the guarantee that no one will ever see the data of each other, and the guarantee that only anonymous insights can come out of the clean room? Well, that's basically what a clean room offers. So 3 core principles under the data clean room. First, privacy by design. So this is a direct guarantee we extract from confidential computing, meaning that none of the other participants in the clean room can access the data. not even us, Decentriq, as a software vendor, can access the data, and not even the cloud provider that we work with. So those are very strict and strong guarantees that data clean rooms offer. Second, it makes collaboration compliant to different jurisdictions, regulations. So we as a vendor have been working with multiple jurisdictions, especially in Europe, Belgium, Switzerland, France. And finally, it's not a compromise between privacy and flexible, powerful analytics. Data clean rooms let you do from simple SQL queries all the way from running machine learning algorithm inside those environments. So very flexible, elastic environments. Now, I want to say a word about the collaboration with Roche. I don't know if Asad, you want to jump in, but this has been a collaboration across teams. So not only Roche Information Solutions, but also with the RDS teams. So I want to name here Vincent, Zoe, Matthias, who I don't believe could make it today into the room, but it's been a great 6 months. And together, what we did is we took the principle of a clean room and deployed it to tackle a very concrete problem that Asad mentioned. So a collaboration between Roche Diagnostics and the hospital that today is very, I would say, difficult. Collaboration is lengthy. There is no iteration because no direct access to the data. With a clean room, we are changing the paradigm. It's no longer a wall between those two teams, those two entities. They can now collaborate together with direct iteration and interactivity. So I won't go through the list of new features we developed together. It's going to be fairly detailed, but it was a co-development effort to enhance the user experience of Roche users, but also hospital users, such as those two teams can collaborate in a clean room with, again, the patient privacy in mind and the security of the data at all times. Yeah, I guess this is it. I promise to be crisp and happy to take any question you may have.
Thank you so much, Pierre. Do we have any questions in the audience?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Quick question, what data standard do you adhere? How do you get the data? And what data sizes and enterprise speeds, if any, you adhere to? Thank you.
Yeah, excellent question. So when it comes to collaboration, the question of normalization and standards comes into play. So we typically work with OMOP or different CDM models. Those, to be transparent with all in the room, typically happens before they reach the data clean room. So there must be an effort from the different data owners to basically standardize their model. And there are a lot of companies out there that are doing this. We actually collaborate with one in Belgium called Linkscare, which is very strong in this field. But we, Decentriq, what we offer is the collaboration, the secure box. There needs to be some normalization that happens before. Now, to your second point, the scale, that's actually one of the strongest advantage of this technology compared to other privacy-enhancing technology. It's a cloud-based technology that can actually scale very easily to gigabytes and terabytes of data. I won't go into the specific details. It's CPU-based, but starting January, GPUs will be supported in those environments. So NVIDIA made a very big announcement 2 months ago, saying that they are rallying the confidential computing race. So I would say in 6 months, we'll be having genomics data supported in those environments.
Any other questions?
Thank you. A quick question. Is this applicable to federated learning as well, or do you see this obsolete going forward?
That's an excellent question. Federated learning is, I would say, an alternative approach to solving this problem. There are pros and cons. The main, I would say, benefits to this technology is there is no need for maintaining infrastructure at the edge. The end goal or the end objective is the same. Privacy of the patient, there is no data sharing, but it's a technology that's much easier because it's SaaS. You only basically log in, encrypt the data, put it in. So I would say it's a lot more cost effective than federated learning.
All right. Thank you both. Yeah, looking forward to mingle later.
Thank you, everyone.
Just as a quick reminder to anyone in the audience, we've set up dedicated booths over there. So after our presentations here, we were going to have half an hour of networking break. So please feel free to approach all the founders, the teams, to get more insights and to chat a little bit around the solutions. Additionally, for our virtual audience, please reach out to us if you want to get in touch with the companies. We're very happy to facilitate any introductions virtually. All right, 3 of 5, 2 to go. Does any one of you remember we've talked about, well, certain announcement or certain device that Roche has announced a couple of months ago and it was part of Okan's presentation. Does anyone remember the name? All right, maybe we should have done the attention span thing beforehand. We're now switching or going into the project of Cobas Pulse. Just a quick reminder, it's the bedside terminal, Android-based platform, which enables a platform in general to include a lot of functionality to make physicians, care teams' life easier. If you want to explore certain capabilities in various different areas, you need to add up functionality to that. We're now exploring something in the cardiovascular space here. We're going to see the company, no, I don't have the clicker, I'm sorry, please can you change the slide, Medibiosense. In particular, they are tracking a lot of cardiovascular related biomarkers. Which those biomarkers are, I will hand it over to Till and Simon.
Yes, thank you. So, goal of our project was to see how we could integrate a vital signs sensor into Cobas Pulse. And now you get why I'm wearing a jacket, right? And could you please forward the... So yeah, Okan just showed us a little bit about the Cobas Pulse. No? No, come. Yes. And we already learned that the Cobas Pulse is a blood glucose meter for use in the hospital by a nurse on ward. And it comes with premium precision, and it comes with simplicity. And the simplicity is delivered thanks to the underlying operation system. It's an Android operation system. And using an Android operation system, of course, means that you have the chance to add functionality on it by adding apps. And as a product owner for the apps platform, I went to our customers and I asked them, what do you want to have? So it's not only about functionality, it's about gaining more insights and saving time. And so we asked them, what kind of insights do you want? And how would you like to, or what do you think, how could you save time? And so the hospital owners told us ECG. ECG is really, the instruments for taking ECGs are really very costly. And what they would like to see is an inexpensive instrument to take an ECG. And if it's about saving time, the nurses said, okay, so we really want to take care of the patient, and we do not want to take care too much of the technology. And so with the help of startup Creasphere and Plug and Play, we were looking for a sensor whom we could integrate into the great Cobas Pulse platform. And Simon, I would like to ask you to show us a little bit about your sensor.
Hi, everybody. So this is the sensor, okay? 7 days, single use, FDA and CE class 2. So this is not a consumer product, this is a medical grade product. You apply it to the chest just here, anybody can do it. So what can this do? Of course, ECG, heart rate, respiration rate, RR interval, body temperature, skin temperature, steps, posture, fall detection. We also can monitor ECG in real time. So if Till or I have a heart attack up here, I'm going to show you shortly. So any doctors out in the audience maybe haven't. So very simple medical grade technology. We integrate this into the Cobas Pulse. And it went well. We had a really good experience, and we're looking forward. We're already talking to other hospitals in Germany, around the world, about what we can do here. Just get down to the detail. When you're in hospital, maybe we check your heart rate or your vital signs 3 or 4 times a day. When you're at home, maybe once every time you see the doctor. We're checking heart rate 151,000 times a day through the Cobas Pulse. We're doing your activities, your steps, over 600,000 times. ECG, which we're here working with Roche for, 75 million times a week. So this is not 30 seconds of ECG, this is 168 hours of ECG every 125 times a second. So if you're going to have an arterial fibrillation, you're going to have an arrhythmia. Not only do we detect that, but we detect it in real time. So no more putting a Holter on, going away, going to hospital, put the Holter on, going away for a week, coming back, having it taken off, waiting for the report. We can detect arrhythmias within seconds. Till, I think it's over to you. Yes. I don't know if this, I think this is the...
So, what we really have achieved is we really showed feasibility. So, I told you it's an Android system behind, but actually, yes, it's Android, but it's same but different. So, it took us, thank you, it took us a little time to really get it done. And what we are now in the phase that we really have an alpha version. Yeah? And with this alpha version, we engaged customers and asked if it's really what they would need. Yeah? And of course, an alpha version is not really what they want to get, but they were really excited. And actually, by engaging customers, we created an additional idea of what we could, in addition, do by getting more insights on the basis of that sensor. Because it's not only ECG, it's much more. And so what we really learned is it was relatively uncomplicated to really get it done. But there were some challenges. And really, it was customers are very excited and very interested. And using the vital patch really does save time. So by in terms of the project, I would say mission accomplished. But at the end of the day, seeing is believing. And maybe...
next steps, next steps.
Maybe... okay.
I think Till just mentioned this, but I'll summarize and I'll hopefully do a a quick live demo. You need to turn on your Cobus Pulse and check your patch. Yeah, as Till said, we've achieved great things in the last few weeks, few months. We had some hiccups, you know, but this is all part of R&D and innovation. We have it fully integrated, working now. I want to try and finish, if I can, but Till's gone offline, to show you a live patch. Okay.
Actually, it's connected. Yeah.
Is it the network?
It is.
Unfortunately, we've been let down by networks here because Till's wearing a patch and I'm wearing a patch, and I'm England and he was going to be Germany. I wanted a bit of a penalty shootout, but Germany have not turned up at the last moment. They've been in the game for the last hour, but he's not appearing. But this is me. Right now, so you can see, right now I'm connected to the Cobus Pulse here. You can see my heart rate, my respiration rate, temperature, all in real time. If I select myself, so you can log on anywhere in the world. The doctors can do this remotely. You can be in a hospital, outside of a hospital. And we have alerts set here, so if I have a heart attack and this starts flashing, please come on stage to save me, please. But you should see my steps moving around here. And we have some other things. If we go to ECG, for example, maybe a bit slow on the network. Some noise, but I look fine. We'll just go back. Okay. Okay, so I'm moving around a bit. Till, you're still not turned up. You've ruined my football kickoff. But anyway, I hope that was enjoyable. You can see how it's live and it's working, and you can see me walking around, and you can see how what I call is, you know, the future of healthcare really is here today. We can really make changes, you know, anywhere in the world. You know, the last 2 years have been super special for us, saving many lives around the world during COVID and being able to do that remotely. So thank you very much.
Thank you for actually showing us already the product. Do we have any questions in the audience? We have time for one question.
Yeah, thanks a lot for also the live demo. And England won, but that's okay. One quick question, maybe I missed it. What about the medical grade? Do you have class 2A or are you approved?
Hello? Yeah. Great question. Yes, FDA and CE Class 2A, and of course MHRA in the UK, so full medical grade Class 2A.
Awesome. Till, Simon, thank you so much for being here. All right, that was quick. We're already at the last company of today, showcasing what they've done in the last 3 months. And we're now switching gear into a disease area which becomes quite apparent to every one of us, either through personal experience or also there's a certain, I've heard 1 in 3 earlier from Anne. I think the numbers for neurodegenerative diseases are a little bit higher. Looking at the market, now we have roughly, for instance, for Alzheimer's, 5 million people suffering from Alzheimer's in the States only. If nothing is done against that, that will grow at a CAGR of, in the 2-digit space, to roughly 16 million by 2050. I think very critical to actually intervene here is an early diagnosis. is to early on change habits, to early on give medication as soon as it's there. And that's really something that our next startup and our next collaboration is tackling. We're going to have on stage, if the clicker works. No, the clicker doesn't work. All right. We're going to have on stage Neurotrak. This time the setup is a little bit different. Unfortunately, Brian cannot be here with us today. But we have Jordan joining us here on stage today. He flew all the way in from San Francisco as well. So a round of applause, please.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fabian. So I recognize, for one, I am the gap between you and a break. So I will do everything I can to keep us engaged, keep us interested, and keep us moving forward. So you will see Ashish was originally the speaker. He's right there in the back. So raise your hand, Ashish, president of Neurotrak. My name is Jordan Glenn. I'm the chief scientist at Neurotrak. And I am going to... Where we go? Eventually, I'm going to...
Yeah, I think the tech team is working on it.
Tell a joke. Well, while we wait for this to go up, I'll actually tell a story. So I get asked a lot about why I joined Neurotrak. Neurotrak is a company focused on early detection and risk reduction for cognitive decline. I'm married to a lovely Brazilian woman whose grandfather has Alzheimer's disease. And I had never been touched or introduced to Alzheimer's disease before meeting her. First time I ever went to Brazil, I went with her. She has a very special relationship with her grandfather. I've heard so many amazing stories about him. I have heard how excited, how unbelievable it is that she is getting to finally go see him. So maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it was before the pandemic, we fly to Sao Paulo, we lay over, we go to Belo, we get to her grandfather's house, and she sees him, her eyes light up, big as saucers, and she runs up to him and he looks at her and he says, "Hola, mi nome é François, prazer em conhecer você." Which, for those of you not fluent in Brazilian Portuguese, means, "Hello, my name is François, it's nice to meet you." I have never seen my wife so hurt as she was in that moment. And I've done some dumb things in our relationship. And I've never seen her so hurt as she was in that moment. 6 months later, I found Neurotrak, I joined Neurotrak, and I have been there for the last 4.5 years ever since, because I have never also felt so touched by a moment that had to deal with healthcare or anything when it comes to a disease state. And so that's why I work at Neurotrak. That's why a lot of people at Neurotrak work at Neurotrak, because we're almost all touched by this disease. And so we really focus on pairing proprietary tech with comprehensive care, bringing the full circle continuum of cognitive care together. So our platform really works in 3 major stages. We measure, we monitor, we improve. And I'll talk about each of these individually as part of this talk today. Clinical evidence is the background of everything we do. We spent the first 4 or 5 years as a company just focused on clinical science. Actually, as of this morning, that is 15 peer-reviewed publications. So we're glad to have that number always continuing to increase. We are a Class 2 medical device registered with the FDA, and we have research partnerships all over the world, really, with both academic and industry or corporate partners, where we have continued to generate evidence, collect data, publish, and really build out the background and the backbone of our platform. We also focus very, very heavily on diversity and inclusion. So when it comes to cognitive health, when it comes to cognitive assessment, historically, ethnicity, culture, race, language, education, all of these play very, very big factors in cognitive assessment. And regardless of, you hear all, especially in the US healthcare system, you constantly hear, we can't use this test because we have a very high Hispanic population. We can't use this because they can't speak this language. It's biased toward African Americans or black individuals on this test. And so we have spent years focused on inclusivity, focused on building our platform to be language agnostic, ethnicity agnostic, culture agnostic, education agnostic, and we've proved this out through our data time and time again. We also provide our technology free to institutions doing research in underserved populations. So trying to make sure that we can continue to get access to care for people that need it. So Neurotrak, we focus again, 3 areas: assessment, monitoring, intervention. And like I said, we'll go into each of these on the next slides. We cannot do anything else if we cannot properly assess cognition. And so we have built our own cognitive platform that collects both haptic and eye tracking streams of data. So when you go to take our cognitive assessments, you can do it on a tablet, an iPhone, a laptop, anything with an embedded camera, no hardware needed, just whatever you have on your own device. And we incorporate the classic touch-based data that a clinician will understand, that will fit in their workflow, that they know what to do with, but we'll also overlay that eye tracking component. Now, what does that mean when I say eye tracking? So on the screen here, you're going to see a yellow dot. That yellow dot is the pupil of a 65-year-old woman with diagnosed Alzheimer's disease. In this particular test, she was shown that ice cream cone on the right earlier in the test and asked to remember it because she's going to have to refer to it again later. Now it's being shown to her again. She's asked to keep her eyes very focused on that ice cream cone on the right. And a healthy individual, and probably the majority of us here today, you will see those movement patterns very, very tightly focused on that side of the screen. Maybe a little bit of back and forth simply because of natural curiosity, but very, very tight patterns. You can see here she's left, right, up, down, back, forth. She's all over the map. She has clearly forgot what she's looking at. She clearly doesn't understand what she's supposed to be doing. In the classic version of this test, we just ask her to point or click or identify the one. She's got a 50-50 shot of getting it right. Now being able to lay over this additional data stream, analyze it, interpret it for clinicians, and be able to provide back that clinical interpretation to let them understand and know what they're actually looking at, allows us to create this in a very scalable model. The other piece that the eye tracking gives us is we can now do this fully asynchronous and remotely. So we have seen people take tests in Ubers, in concert halls, in the back of cabs, and while they're eating dinner, petting the dog. I've seen it all. And so I know when this woman goes and takes a test, I know if she has a bad score because she deserves that score. I know if she has a bad score because her kid came in right in the middle of it and she got super distracted and she had to look off the screen. All of that we can pick up and algorithmically interpret to understand how to do this without a human in the loop. So we can test 10,000 people in the span of time it would take to test 1 or 2. Taking it a step further, we really focus on screening. And so where we have our full battery that will cover all the major domains associated with Alzheimer's disease, executive function, attention, processing speed, memory, you name it. We have a 3-minute screener. It's our version of the classic paired symbol digit test for those of you that may be familiar with neuropsychological assessment. And I lovingly call it our sledgehammer. It essentially is our test that in 3 minutes, we can identify with very good sensitivity and specificity if somebody has MCI, if they are healthy, if they have AD, being able to simply understand, does this person need a further workup, yes or no? And so you imagine the value to that in a clinical workflow where patients or physicians have minutes with patients, where they can just hand over a tablet, somebody can take that test in 3 minutes, be done with it. They can take it at home, it can be QA'd. Within our Roche example, we are looking at using it on the front end of the upcoming Gantt trial to be able to screen thousands of patients to help increase how fast they can get into that funnel with proper characterization. So being able to do this at scale at a time now where it can take 6 months, 12 months, most PCPs won't even touch cognitive assessment, we can massively provide care to those who need it. The second half of the platform focuses on intervention. So what good is testing if we can't do anything about it? So we have operationalized the landmark finger protocol, which was the first study ever to show that a brick and mortar lifestyle intervention program, things like exercise, diet, sleep, stress, social engagement, cognitive interaction, can actually move the needle on cognition and be able to not only sustain but improve people's cognition over time. So I'll show some actual formal data from a study we published back in 2018. Single arm trial, let's call it the digital health version of a phase 1 clinical trial. 1 year on the program, people were seeing increases in global cognition, increases in memory, language, attention, delayed memory. We're also seeing significant improvements in things like anxiety symptoms, depression symptoms. So all those factors that are very, very heavily related to the development of cognitive decline. We use this data to get a $3.5 million grant from the National Institute of Aging in the United States. We're currently running that study at the University of Arkansas. We just collected the 1 year data point, and we're seeing remarkably similar numbers to what we saw in the original trial. So that data will be coming out very soon. We'll continue that for 2 years and then get that formally out in the world as well. And that's what NeuroTrack does. We focus on 3 things and we do them very well. We measure, we monitor, and we intervene. We bring that full circle of care continuum to people to allow them to take their own control of their cognitive health. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jordan. I think
Neuratrack and Roche. We are coming together to help with one of the world's most challenging diseases.
This is our pilot owner.
Alzheimer's disease. Neuratrack has developed an innovative technology. It's not just a cognitive assessment that's been digitized. They add on a proprietary eye tracking technique that measures an individual's gaze, how long they look at paired images, the correct one, the wrong one, and perform an easy-to-use, scalable cognitive testing assessment. All these things are really important to us, particularly at Genentech, where our focus is on the patient experience. We believe that the patient experience should drive our research, therapies, and promise as a company. So Neuratrack has developed a 3-minute test that can be loaded by a QR code and is set up so that it's easy to access an individual's cognitive test. They also have a battery of tests that are modeled off called standard assessments. And this is exactly what we're trying to do with Neuratrack. Find ways to reach patient populations that are underrepresented by finding scalable technologies that are easy to use. Now, what's most valuable part of startup Creasphere? Well, we have the opportunity to make a real difference in identifying patient populations that struggle to access healthcare and have cognitive decline in clinical trials, specifically in this case, a critical gantenerumab study. Gantenerumab is a disease-modifying therapy that is in development to help with Alzheimer's disease. And we are focusing this study on underrepresented patient populations. A key assessment that we need to do to determine if the individual is eligible for the trial is to assess their cognitive state. So we plan to use the Neuratrack 3-minute test as a pre-screen to identify people in community-based settings, which is really exciting.
That's Brian Cobb, our pilot owner, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but still representing us in spirit from his video.
Really incredible, actually, also what you do to overcome bias in that sense. So, giving it up to the audience. Any questions?
Can you go back to your article?
Let me see. I think the team in the back would have to put the slide up again. The slide, but I can give it to you.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. Your eye tracking component is particularly interesting. So I have a question. When you're using the eye tracking, is it measuring existing ocular biomarkers and measuring them digitally and interpreting them digitally, or is your software the actual digital biomarker?
Yeah, so the software is taking that raw video data that you saw there, and it is calculating out everything from saccades, blink rates, quadrant on the screen. So we are interpolating all of that on our own, as opposed to pulling in other biomarkers. Everything is our own IP that we've developed through that.
So what class would your software be?
We are registered with the FDA as a Class 2A medical device.
As a Class 2A diagnostic, yeah?
Yeah, it's registered Class 2A. We can't diagnose. No cognitive assessment only a physician can diagnose. So technically, we are registered as a clinical assessment, like a physician-assisted tool. But in the same way that any tool that a physician has to provide a diagnosis through. Cognition's so interesting. You know, with diabetes, you have cutoffs for blood glucose. For blood pressure, you have cutoffs for diagnoses. Cognition is wonky. You know, you have clinicians who will look at people and say, I don't even need to give them a test. I look at them and I know they have a diagnosis. Then you have others who say, like, I have no idea how to even administer tests. So it all comes down to assisting the physician in making that diagnosis at the end of the day.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, I might have one. You have a 2 biomarker model at the moment? What's the next biomarker, or are you planning to include another biomarker to make it a more multimodal model?
We are. I probably can't talk about it, though. But it is in flight as we speak.
Beautiful. All right, thank you. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for, well, being interactive, asking questions. Probably was the first time after a long time to actually speak in front of an audience. I would like to give a special thanks from a ventures perspective to the team at Roche and to our other partners that are here present today for the great interaction that we always have. But with that, I would like to hand over the word to my dear colleague Max, who will talk about something a little bit different.
Thank you, Fabi, for your very kind introductory words, and also a special thanks to, of course, the pilot owners, the great pilot showcases that we have seen. Moreover, also for you guys attending today's event and actually being on site again. I think that's super great. It's a super great spirit to have. And of course, I'm personally very much looking forward to the networking later on and actually mingling and discussing also the great insights that we have seen today. But adding on to this, we also want to use this opportunity to also share insights and also awareness surrounding a different subject, a subject that asks the questions of focusing on actual people in need of access to healthcare services. And for this, we actually partnered up with an initiative that is focusing on helping people on the ground in Ukraine, and this is called Support Ukraine. So what they're actually doing is, since 2014, they are distributing, providing critical care need, medical supplies, medical equipment to the hospitals on the ground, and we definitely support that mission. We want to also help patients and people in need of healthcare access. And if you want to do that as well, you're more than invited to actually scan the posters that we have on the wall. We have little QR codes that you can simply scan and select an amount of your own choice in terms of also contributing to that and supporting that. So very, very thankful to also partner up with them, and also special thanks to you guys. Looking forward to the rest of the event, and I will already give it back to Fungi again. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Max, and thank you especially for introducing us to UA hospitals and giving us the opportunity to give something back. I think that's something that is really important to all of us. Thanks again also from me to Fabian and all the showcases. That was really amazing. I'm a bit dazzled because I'm just so impressed and in awe of everything that you do. It's just really amazing work. Can I please get one more really loud round of applause for Max, for Fabian, and for all the showcases, please? Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I really love the spirit, and you're a great audience. It's really great to work with you, and that's why you deserve a break. I do want to draw your attention again to all of the highlights that we have. So we do have 20 minutes of a networking break now. I do want to remind you that there is an award going out tonight for the best pitch showcase that you've just seen from Batch 8. So do use that time, leverage the time, go and speak to the startups over here at that booth, go over to the demo showcases, go and visit Olivia, take photos, really leverage the opportunity now, and I will see you back in 20 minutes. Have a great break. Okay. If you could slowly move back to your seats, the show is about to go on. If I could ask everyone to slowly come back to their seats, please. We're moving on in the agenda. If everyone could please go back to your seats, that'd be amazing. Thank you. We're moving on in the agenda. Please go back and find your seats. Thank you. Aua. Hello, hello. Oh. All right, everyone. Oh. I love that everyone's so talkative and we're really getting to the collaboration, which we will continue tonight. But if I could ask everyone to come back to your seats, we would really like to move on in the agenda because we've got so much more for you today. Yeah, exactly. There's going to be heaps of time to network and collaborate during the barbecue, during the networking dinner. I really ask you to come back and join me. It's a bit lonely up here. Where did all the people go? I do realize it's really exciting today, and I'm sure it's an exciting opportunity for you to meet people and collaborate with people, because that's what Plug and Play is all about. I absolutely appreciate that. But we do still have a couple more items on our agenda that we would like to go through with you, and I'm sure they'll be as amazing as your conversations were just now. I do get a little bit of feedback. That's better. All right, that's better. Okay, I kind of feeling that we're still missing loads of people. However, if I could ask everyone to come back to their seats, if you do prefer to continue your conversations, which is perfectly fine, there is a designated networking area just outside the room, just so we're a bit cautious and respectful about everyone that's on stage. So if I could ask everyone that's staying here to come back to your seats and focus on me. Thank you. And everyone else, you're more than welcome to continue your networking, but I do ask you to use the networking space that's dedicated for your conversations just next door. All right. I still feel like I've missed some people. That's okay. I was going to ask, well, I'm still curious because, you know, we're all about collaborating and networking today. So I am curious. I'm going to do a little stand-up activity because I really think that's nice. Can please, everyone, stand up that has spoken to at least 2 people today that you have not spoken to before? That's almost everyone. That's amazing. Okay, every one of you, you can stay standing if you've spoken to 5 or more people you have not met today. Okay, that's still, I'm going to say that's about half of you now, so that's a pretty good ratio. I think we can be really proud of Plug and Play. Well done. That's a great networking collaboration event. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, guys. I'm really excited to move on in the agenda, and also, of course, looking forward to the networking mixer and the barbecue and the drinks, obviously, as most of you. But we do have a little surprise element for you. And for this one, it's really, really important that I get all of your undivided attention. Again, if you prefer to network or have meaningful conversations, please do so in the room next door. But for our next surprise element, I would like to ask Frederike back on stage with me.
Thank you, Fungi, and I know it's not easy to keep the attention high, so thank you everybody for being so supportive here, and Fungi, a good job here as well. So yeah, thanks for staying here and for enjoying the day. The pitches have been great, listening to the collaborations. Truly inspiring and motivating to continue. And talking about continuation and growth, we would like to take this moment to announce also the growth of our platform startup Creasphere. And with that, I would like to ask Anna and Arnaud on stage, our newest partners that are joining actually now from Daiichi Sankyo. And big shout out to you. Thank you for joining on stage, and actually a very spontaneous joining on stage. So thank you for being so spontaneous here and for joining us in person. And yeah, we're very happy to welcome you as a newest partner on our platform, and really looking forward to the collaboration together and what we will achieve together in your innovation activities at Daiichi Sankyo. And that's actually what we will learn more about now. So Daria, if you can quickly help with the microphones, that would be great, that we can learn a little bit about what you do and what we're planning to do together. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having us here today. I guess this is a great chance for us to sneak peek into what we can expect for the next years working with you. So we're super happy to have you and this amazing network to accompany us on our journey to digitalize our business. So who's we? Who is Daiichi Sankyo? Basically, we're the second largest Japanese pharmaceutical company. We're globally active. We are in the areas of cardiovascular and oncology, 16,000 employees across 20 countries working on making the life of patients better. And I don't need to tell you that digital technologies are changing the industries and also our business model. So this is why we started our journey to evolution in the last year. With that, we initiated a digital innovation hub supporting our 13 affiliates across Europe in not only providing digital solutions to our customers beyond the existing product portfolio, but also building up structures and capabilities that allow us to flourish innovation. And I guess you mentioned it in Roche, it's opening up to the ecosystem. And basically, if you're working on innovation in a pharma company, it's also changing a little bit the culture from a product-driven retail organization to an open learning innovation culture. And this is part of the journey we're doing. And a little bit more facts from Arnaud.
Great. And so concretely, we are excited to be joining the next batch, and we'll have a couple of value cases that we would love the network to support us with. And basically, because we are working in chronic conditions, we are really focusing on how we can help patients and their physicians in making better treatment decisions, and also continuing to limit the risk that they could be out of suffering from severe cardiac events. And we want to do this by a way of personalizing the treatments and the health and the support that patients can get, and how physicians can be a part of that, and how they can support it by getting access to longitudinal data and having more insights into their hands to support patients with lifestyle optimization, with behavioral nudging, and all of these capabilities that digital can basically bring to the clinical setting to support with the new expectations that patients would have for their treatments. And the second aspect of that, as I already kind of alluded to, is that we believe in chronic conditions, the behavioral aspect is very critical and will really be driving the better health outcomes that we want for our patients. And so we want to also look at how we can support doctors in becoming behavioral coaches for their patients, so that we can incite patients to change their lifestyle, get a better handle on their condition and feel in control so that they don't risk suffering from severe cardiac incidents. And so we're really excited to kick this off in the next few weeks, months. I guess it's November-ish, something like that. So yeah, exactly. It was great learning and seeing some of the results from pilots here today, and we look forward to being able to show some of these results ourselves in the next batch. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anna and Anu, for sharing about the plans together, and also for Daiichi Sankyo about the innovation journey that is ahead. And I think there are already some great showcases from today that you can talk to the startups today here already, and yeah, that you're joining the open innovation approach with us. And yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Cheers.
Thank you so much. We do have some gifts for you. They say, welcome to the family, I guess. That's just for Darius, just handing them over to you. Thanks so much, and congratulations to both parties. I think it's a really great new collaboration, and it was good on you for staying. So you now have a knowledge advantage over everyone who did not stay with us. Everyone who decided to go networking, which is fine too. You now know the new partner Plug and Play, which is amazing. All right. If you remember, I did speak about 2 more keynote speakers today, and because we are speaking about partners, we're going to get to know 2 more partners today. And our next speaker can unfortunately not be here with us in person, but he is with us virtually. Oh, sorry. I would like to introduce Felix Kallenberg from Biotronik, Head of Business Strategy and Innovation at Biotronik. I am looking to our AV team, and we are making it work. Hello, Felix.
Hi. Greetings from Berlin.
Great. Can you hear us okay? Did you just hear your applause? Please say yes. Yeah, that's amazing. Most important thing that... Can we make sure that we can... Oh, okay. Maybe start again. Hello, Felix, welcome. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you okay.
And we can now hear you too. That's amazing. The stage is yours.
So I'm going to share my screen, I believe.
Oh.
Can you see my slides? Because I can only see my face on your screen.
That's okay. We're still working on the technical issues. As you can see, we're so used to in-person events already. Nobody knows how to use Teams anymore. No, I'm kidding. But no, our AV team is working to make it happen. You are actually pretty special today because you're the only one who's with us, live, but not in person. But yeah, there you go. I think we see your slides now. Can you see yourself in the slides as well?
Yes, I
Beautiful.
think everything works now well.
Okay, looks good. I'll leave you to it.
Thank you. So yeah, greetings from Berlin. Sorry to not be there in person today. Yes, 5 minutes keynote. I mean, I would rather call it maybe a brief update. I hope your expectations in terms of keynote are not so big so that I can fulfill them. For the quick update, I'd like to show you our internal timeline for our work together in the startup Creasphere. So, as you all remember, in February, we've presented our batch 7 results with the startups Evocal Health, Tuloka, and MyMHealth. And we decided to continue working with some of them, and additionally had also some startups from batch 6 that we are still collaborating with. So we decided in March to skip batch 8 to work with these startups to further. And at the same time, we have also decided to enlarge the scope of the program. So in the past batches, we only had challenges with a product focus, so marketing and R&D driven, but we have decided that also other departments could benefit from collaborating with a designated startup. So what we did in the past few months was putting out a big internal call for challenges where all departments handed in their challenges at hand. We received 14, of which we have selected 5, and now the scouting for batch 9 for these 5 challenges is already ongoing. So we're looking forward to 5 great projects, not coming also from data quality challenges, but also even some hardware challenges from our production teams, to have them ready for batch 9 in October. But as there's quite some time left until October, we are at the moment very much looking forward to our 2 innovation days actually next week. And what we want to do there is, first of all, provide a very, very good onboarding for our new pilot owners for batch 9. And then at the second day, have a senior management education/coaching to address some of the hurdles that we have seen when it comes to handling early stage innovation. And I'd like to show you what we exactly want to do in these 2 days. So, as we have learned in the previous batches, so the onboarding of pilot owners who haven't collaborated with a startup before is very crucial. So we will have really a whole day to discuss exactly what is the expectation for all these pilots that we have in mind. We will have previous pilot owners invited there as well to share best practices from their experiences in the previous batches. And then, of course, we want to align on collaboration standards. So how are we going to interact as a team? Are we going to meet in person all together? These kind of things. We will have this whole day there. And then, of course, discuss also how we can ensure that we will have the best fitting startup working with us in October. And then for the second day, the senior management coaching, as I've said, we have identified some hurdles when it comes to fostering early stage innovation. So even though we have an innovation management process, we will talk about adjusting it properly so that we'll be even more successful when it comes to early stage innovation. For that purpose, we will look at other firms and learn best practices there, what we could change. And then in the afternoon, we'll have really a workshop kind of session together with senior leaders to align if we can implement these new standards when it comes to early stage innovation. With these 2 days next week, and I'm really happy that Max and Frederike will come visit us in Berlin in our innovation house for these 2 days. I believe we will be well set up for the next batch in October. And of course, with 5 pilot projects at hand, we are really planning on being there in Munich. So in October, I won't be the one being virtually with you only, so I'll be there in person. But of course, in case you do not want to wait until October and you want to reach out to discuss something because you think there's common ground to innovate together, then please reach out. Here are all my contact details, and I'm happy to get in touch with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Felix. It's a shame we can't have you here. That was really lovely. Thank you. And you have a wonderful day. Next time, hopefully see you here.
As I've said, I'll be there in October. Don't worry.
All right. I'm going to just wait for the team to bring up our next slide. Yeah, there we go. As I said, we're getting to know one more partner today. And Novo Nordisk is also a very important partner from startup Creasphere, who have also worked really successfully in the past with startups. And I'm very happy to have here today Open Innovation Lead, Luc Diaz. Hello.
Cool. It's always nice to come between a break and drinks, right? Because I feel that to keep your attention, I would have you to stand up and run half kilometer or something like this. But so I'm the last, I think, almost of the corporate partners, and I represent Novo Nordisk. We are a company dedicated to, I love using that word, cardiometabolic health, which means like diabetes, obesity, NASH, CKD, CVD, and you heard some of the other pharma companies also covering that space. But I'm here as well as everybody representing digital. I'm part of an organization called Business Innovation Garage, and we support Novo Nordisk across organization in a kind of how do we partner with the startups, like most of you here, to do more innovation in the digital space. There's this belief, and I think this afternoon we all leave from here thinking that's, digital is going to change healthcare, and I hope that that's the case in the next 5 to 10 years when we see digital playing a much strong digital role also from a pharma perspective. This is how we see it. I'm not going to go in detail, but maybe 3 trends that I would like to raise. The first one, and it was covered across the conversation today, health is getting into our hands, right? We see it more and more. Wearables, other devices, it's easier for us to access and be mindful of what is good and bad for our health, right? The second one, I would say, is the investment like companies like us, but other IT companies, if you look at big tech, that they are making on the healthcare space. And there's, of course, collaboration, but I feel there's a battle underlaying on who's going to own that space of the data, of the patients, and digital. And finally, we're seeing governments and private organizations, I would say insurers mainly, and other payers, focusing quite a lot on everything that has to do with an approach to healthcare that is more value-based, right? And here we talk about prevention, among other topics. This is a little bit, because I think I just want to give like 2, 3 highlights, right, of things, and there's like an announcement that I want to make and call for something, but opportunities, right? So when we look at Novo Nordisk, this is some of the spaces that we're looking into now. Nothing exceptional, nothing detailed, but you can see that we look at from prevention to drug discovery, diagnosis, treatment, and aftercare in the topics that I mentioned. And there are certain areas in which we're seeing like R&D, it's coming, we've been hearing about super interesting companies developing drugs with AI and machine learning and others. We see a lot of digital biomarkers coming in, and I think you heard Neurotrack, which is a super interesting company. Congratulations to Roche for working with them. It's super exciting to see that collaboration happening. So we really believe that the future will go that way, right? There's so many companies like NQ Medical in Boston, super interesting, working with passive data and how you can identify people living with Parkinson. There's a stuff on online care. Direct care is an area in which we're super interested. Digital therapeutics and the trends in reimbursement. And here in Germany, even more exciting, I would say, right, with everything we're seeing. And I believe that pharma can play a very important role in that space. I saw you taking pictures, so, it's fine. Don't put it in LinkedIn, just in case. I think an important reflection here as well, it comes, and I was hearing somebody from Roche talking about similar topics, right? So we as a pharma company, we felt that we had to define a digital strategy. And I'm not talking about the digital strategy because I need to talk about it with you. It's because there's an underlying activities that we're going to be doing related to this strategy, right? So we're defining digital can have an impact in 3 ways in Novo Nordisk, and we believe the first one is optimize, which is kind of very related to cost reduction. And you can imagine some of the projects and pilots that we can have there. There's augment, it's what you put on top of your molecule, because we're basically producing molecules, to make it much more relevant for the patient and for the payers. And a third layer, which is probably the most interesting one, the explore part, which is how do you generate new revenue models based on digital. I think you hear the guys of Roche Diagnostics, they are already having like super strong models around digital, which is like, for me, it's super nice to see. We as Novo Nordisk, we're still building in that space. We have digital connected devices, and we're trying to explore even a little bit more. But part of this strategy, we saw that partnering with startups in the digital space was fundamental for us to keep the pace of the changes that are happening in the industry. And we came with this. So you heard about the Digital Innovation Hub that the colleagues are opening here in Germany. We're opening a couple of Digital Innovation Hubs in the next 6 months. We announced the first one in China and one in Germany. So if you're interested, we're looking for very cool people interested in the digital space. Obviously not from Roche, Biotronic or Daiichi, we don't poach. But if you're interested, look into it. We're opening China as well. Hard to travel to China now, but you never know. It's an interesting space. We will be working on UK, Brazil, Israel, and Singapore. And obviously, it's not here, but the US is part of the plans. It just, you know, in pharma, the US is always a little bit more complicated. Important is, of course, the startups are relevant. This is, I think, the most important part of what we're trying to do, but there are other ecosystem partners like accelerator programs, like Creasphere, that is helping us, by the way, to set up this hub network. The team of Frederike is helping us in Singapore and in other locations to help us get our feet off the ground. But we're looking for other kind of partners across the different ecosystems to get closer to these communities of startups. Finally, talking about the cardiometabolic space plus neuro, these are the areas that we're focusing on. Traditionally, Novo Nordisk has been operating quite a lot on the diabetes space. Obesity is an extremely interesting and big market for us right now. It's growing a lot. NASH and CKD are relevant areas. NASH specifically, Novo Nordisk will come with a product in the next 2-3 years, and there are no products in the market nowadays. And cardiovascular, we have certain medication that is connected to that disease, and we have a strategy for that space. And finally, in the neuro space, as I was saying, I know Roche is also exploring, we're paying a lot of attention into that space. So if you think that you have something covering from the prevention space to direct to consumer, telemedicine, connected devices, patient support, happy to talk about what we're working on and looking forward to connect better. For this batch, we worked in 2 topics. Specifically, one was CKD. We cannot present any results, and the other was Alzheimer. We're about to close the agreement with a startup that hopefully we can talk about in the next Creasphere batch. But again, super happy with the support that we're getting from the Creasphere team, and super exciting to hear all the pitches from startups. Extremely exciting stuff. That's it on my side, and yeah, hopefully we can go and drink beers very soon after we hear. Sorry, we cannot drink beers in Novo Nordisk, but it just...
Don't spoil my audience, please. Thank you, Luke. Thanks so much. I'm going to take that from you. Thank you, and this one too. Thanks. You do have a wine in there, so you can have your wine. You guys are going to have to wait for your drinks a little bit longer. No, thanks so much, and thanks to Luke and all of the other keynote speakers that were here today. You've done a wonderful job, and honestly, I'm always so grateful when we have good keynote speakers, because that means my job gets easier. So can we please have another round of big applause for all of the keynote speakers today? All right, I like that you're still very spirited. That's very good. I do need you to keep up the noise today, because we do have another little highlight today, and I'm very, very happy to announce that we have an alumni pilot showcase today joining us. And why is that so exciting? I think it is just a great example of how successful Startup Creasphere can be. We today have 2 people from Lock Health and Roche joining us and reporting how they have been working on a joint project that has been just wonderfully successful, and it's just a great showcase of how a beautiful collaboration can be when 2 parties really complement each other with their strengths. So I'm really happy to announce we have Julie Kraft, Vice President of Business Development at Lark Health, and we have Eva Schitter, Digital Health Innovation Manager at Roche Diagnostics, joining us. Welcome.
Yeah, sure, no worries. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Now we are really the last act between the event and the barbecue outside, so we will keep it.
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure at all. Yeah, welcome. My name is Eva Schitter. I work as a Digital Health Innovation Manager at Roche, and I'm so grateful to be here today to share with you what we think is the essence that is needed for a good follow-up, and actually the foundation to be able to show an alumni showcase here today. And there are 3 things which are very essential, and that's trust, passion, and energy. So I want to ask you to stand up one last time for today and give a big round of applause for Julie's signature move, the standing up and energizing people.
And you can dance if you want. I hear there's going to be dancing at the pool, so you can start to shake if you want.
Exactly. So we are here today to talk a bit how we try to reimagine virtual care management in the cardiac space. And with that, I would like to just talk a few words about the evolution of the collaboration. Because one key thing is to have a focus. And we started with a focus topic with the ask on how can we keep people or patients engaged in managing their health and disease in the cardiovascular space. So that was our starting point. When we then moved into the scouting and then in the deal flow sessions where 5 startups were scouted. And here the most important thing is that we need to have an interdisciplinary team looking at the startups, really bringing this cross-functional view to the selection, but then later on also to the pilot project where we, together with LARC, created a concept for the heart health module when they were selected to join the batch. And there, the key essential is really to act as a team, not to have boundaries that is one team, that is one company, that is the other company, but really act as a team to be able to come fast to a concept. And now we are at the most important topic, and that's the collaboration. And we signed a collaboration agreement last year to join forces on developing that heart health model based on LARC's technology and bring that to the market hopefully soon.
Thank you, Eva. So excited to be here. And raise your hand if you're with a startup. Do we have startups? Any startups here today? Okay, great. So my background, I spent the last 20 years running business development in tech startups in Silicon Valley. So I've been in your shoes. I was a co-founder of a company called TalkDoc. We built out a behavioral health platform. And that was before COVID, so it was a nice exit. And then I joined LARC Health about 2 years ago. So excited. I mean, you couldn't even imagine what this experience has been like partnering with Roche and Creasphere. How this came about has just been phenomenal. And I'm just going to show a few slides about LARC and then a few slides about our collaboration. And I will try to talk really fast because I know I am between you and a pool party. Okay, so chronic disease, everybody here is in health tech or, you know, has some relation to it. So you know these stats, right? I mean, I was going to do it with the people, but I think we've lost a few people. 6 people here, right? If you had 6 people stand up, the row's pretty short, right? All these people standing up that have chronic disease. The numbers are massive. And there's just, I know, sorry to tell you. Sorry to tell you, 6 out of 10 of you have a chronic disease. And the problem is twofold. One is people go undiagnosed, right? That's one of the huge problems. So we don't know until it's too late stage. So how can we help on the early diagnosis stage and detection? But the second problem is there's just not enough healthcare workers to serve everybody, right? And so that's where LARC is set out to solve this problem. So LARC, we are an AI conversational coaching platform for chronic disease management. We have 5 different disease states that we are coaching on. People say, well, why are you at Creasphere? Because we already have a proven business model. We already have $180 million in funding. So we weren't looking for funding. We weren't looking for to prove out our business model and to prove out our product. But what we were looking for is expertise in the healthcare market. And by partnering with Roche Diagnostics, we couldn't have found a better partner to really help us tap into the regulatory environment, the clinical expertise. It's just been so valuable. And so I encourage you, if you're early stage or late stage startup, Creasphere has a place for you. And so we have built out these 5 programs, and we are the world's largest AI coaching provider. And so we do have an NPI number. We are classified as a provider. And I think there's about 3 million healthcare, 3 million workers shortage in the US. And so that's where LARC can complement all your healthcare providers that are in person, right? We can help reach people 24/7 wherever they are. And we are the hub So we have a clinical framework. If, for example, it's our diabetes program, we have a clinical framework that is bound by the guidelines for the American Diabetes Association, or with the heart health, it's through the American Heart Association. So we follow the clinical guidelines, but then wrapped around that, we have conversational coaching. And so we know that if, Johan today, maybe we're like, you walk every day at noon. It's 1 o'clock. Why haven't you been out walking? That is the kind of conversation that Lark will have with you. It is your friend, it is your nurse in your pocket 24/7, but we do it in a very compassionate way. And we also identify personas, so we know when you're more likely to respond, and so we can get really high engagement. And this is just to show what we were tackling with Roche. We were very aligned that we wanted to go into the cardiac space, and what could we do on cardiac coaching? And we said, well, we could go CVD, just try and get the 120 million people in the US that are at risk for CVD, and then maybe down the line we could get more stringent into the acute part of maybe cardiac rehab or heart failure. But right now we were focused on heart health, which is pretty much, all right, sorry to say, probably everyone in the room could benefit from the heart health app. And so that was what we were trying to tackle. And through the collaboration with Roche, we were very disciplined in our approach, very strategic. This team was amazing, very, very organized and structured. And we built out a plan, kept to our timeline, and we were able to build out a heart health coaching app. So this is the fastest app we've ever built. It was built in about 90 days. And then from there, we are now in our clinical study doing an evaluation. It's a 3-month study to prove out just the validation of the engagement that we are producing through the app and how many people are going to enroll and stay engaged in the program. And then we also are connected to devices so we can capture the clinical outcomes as well in terms of weight, in terms of how they're doing on their other metrics. And this is, wait, everybody stand up and cheer. This is my last slide. Yay! Yay! I'm not going to read this. You can read this. But the basic line, the punchline is, it's been an amazing experience. And I think we were concerned we were a little too late stage. And if you are early stage, late stage, I encourage you to have the conversations with this team because they are amazing. And you'll never know what kind of networking you can uncover, what kind of resources you can be exposed to. So it's been a phenomenal experience. I am really proud to be here today to represent the success story of what Creasphere can bring to the table. And I'm going to close right now with a quick little story to bring this all home. At 3 o'clock today, our great moderator said, take your seats. And so everyone started to come to their seats. Well, I was reading the note cards on the back of the seats, seeing if there's one that says Lark on where I should sit. And then I'm just standing here, reading them all. And then someone came up to me and I said, I'm looking for Lark. And it was a Roche colleague. And they said, are you kidding? Sit with the Roche sign. You're our family. I almost cried. Okay, so we will be at the pool party and we will look forward to meeting you all there. And I hear there's going to be some dancing, Matteo, so we can't wait to see that. Thank you all.
Thank you both so much. I also have a little something for you to remember today as well. Thank you. I'm going to grab that one from you. Okay. All right, everybody. I feel like I have to say something. If anyone else, rather than the moderator, tells you they're the last point on the agenda, do not believe them. We do have something more for you, but actually that was our last presentation, so thanks again, Julia and Eva, thanks so much. It was really incredibly inspiring and so insightful also to see, and it's amazing how successful you are. All right. Okay, I'm not going to stand any much longer between you and the barbecue if I don't need to, but as I told you before, there is an award that we want to give away tonight, and that's the Best Pitch Showcase Award from the from the pilot showcases that you've seen with Fabian before. So, if I could please ask you to take out your smartphones, scan the code, and you will be able to vote for the best showcase. You've seen what success can look like, and I would like you to tell us what success looks like for you in the future. So please vote for the showcase that you found most inspiring, most convincing, and probably the one that you would buy shares from. So if that's a measurement, do enter your votes. The voting is now open. We will play a little video while we're analyzing the results, and then I will be right back on stage to crown the winner. Then I have one more activity for you, and then there will be some closing remarks, and then I promise we will head over together to the barbecue. All right, I will be back in just a second. Okay, 1 more minute to go. Everyone who has not voted yet, make sure to vote for your best palette showcase today. We still have about, I'm going to say 45 seconds until the results are in. I'm super excited because we're going to see the results together on that screen. Oh, okay. 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 All right. Is the voting still open? We good? The voting results are in? Okay, I'm really, really excited. So I have this beautiful award here with me. Okay, it's got my fingerprints on it now, sorry. It's a really nice and shiny award. And yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm going to find out with you guys together. So I think we're going to get it on the screen just in a second. And can I get a drum roll, please? Can you drum roll with your feet? Can we do that? Okay, can we get a drum roll for Best Palette Showcase Award? Nerd with amazingly 43%. Wow! That's amazing. Congratulations. Okay, hold on. I'm going to give that. I'm going to give that to you. Congratulations. Woo. Amazing. Congratulations, guys. That's a really wonderful achievement. And I hope you take home some of the greatest memories from today. And honestly, your work's really touched me so much. So if I was in their shoes, I would have voted for you as well. Of course, I'm going to say that now. No, I'm kidding. Congratulations. Amazing work. Thank you. Okay, okie dokie. Before we head over to the pool, to the drinks, to the barbecue, there's one more thing I would like to ask from you. That's something that I always appreciate when doing an event, just because it's a great closing and it's also incorporating everyone and gives us just a really, really great last experience together. So I do ask you to scan this code or go to Mentimeter and just put in one word, because we're going to build a word cloud together now. I ask you to put in either your highlight from today, or you just think of the word that sums up today's event best for you. So if you think about today, think about all the conversations you've had, think about everything you've seen on stage, think about everything you were able to explore, think about your experiences, the food, the drinks, I don't know, whatever comes to your mind, sum it up in one word and put it in the word cloud for me. And we're just going to see where this word cloud's going to take us and how we're going to close this event together. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to enter some words, and then hopefully we will be able to see the word cloud growing together on screen. Is that something that we can do? Yeah, all right. Has anyone worked with word clouds before? Can I see a show of hands, please? Oh yeah, that's a couple of you. I think they're pretty amazing. It's a challenge though, because people, oh, there you go. Look how beautiful it is. However, so we've got networking and innovation, collaboration, and people and energy in the center, which is amazing, because that's really what all of this is about. This is what Plug and Play is about. This is what Startup Creasphere is about. It's about networking, innovation. England, I love that England is so big, because you know what it means when a word is big? It means that a couple people entered it. So maybe it's one person entering England a couple of times, I don't know. No, I'm kidding, but no, that's beautiful. I see gelato as well, Roche, ice cream. I love that ice cream is growing. That's beautiful too. All right, 7 Minds, barbecue. Someone's put barbecue. Yeah, great. Amazing. We're gonna just let this one, sorry? I'm on there. Oh, thank you so much for putting me on there. Now I can give that back. You've obviously been the highlight for me today. You've been a wonderful audience, and that also is my cue. I'm gonna let this cloud grow a bit more, and I'm gonna hand over to a wonderful Frederike in just a second to say some closing remarks. She's really going to be the last one on stage before we go over to the barbecue. I wanna say thank you for being such a great audience and for having me today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Fungi. Now I'm really the last person before the barbecue. And big shout out to Fungi for guiding us through the day, for the moderation, the humor, the great introduction, and for keeping the energy high. And thank you all for keeping the energy high. And yeah, I'm really the last person, so just give me 5 more minutes of patience, and then we can all enjoy some drinks together and have some conversations at the pool. So this has been a great day for all of us, so thank you for coming and yeah, for making this day what it is. It was very important for us here in Munich. It was the first event in a long time, and yeah, I'm very proud of our team. And I would like to ask one person in specific on stage first, and it's Christina. She's the master of the ceremony today, and she has done an amazing job. And you're the master of the ceremony. Thank you much. Please give her a big applause. And of course, thank you also from the entire Plug and Play team for all the effort, love, and engagement, motivation that you put into this event. It has been a true success, thanks to you. And yeah, big thank you to you. Thank you. This is your applause. And since this is not a one-man show, but actually a big team behind this, I would like to ask the whole Plug and Play team on stage, and another round of applause, please, from everyone. Thank you to the Ventures team for sourcing the startups, for the investments, business development, everyone who helped, everyone in the background, Alfredo, also you, everyone is everyone. So keep on clapping till everyone is on stage. Please, Neda, you're also part of this. Please join us. And for the people behind the stage, to the AV team for helping us and making this so professional and giving us the confidence here. Alfredo for supporting, coming from Frankfurt actually today to help us here. So yeah, this is the team behind the day. And yeah, big shout out to the team and thank you very much. So we're taking a team picture, and then I continue, and then you're released. 1 second. Okay, and now actually one more step of pictures. Please stay on stage. Is also, I would like to ask our corporate partners on stage for another picture all together. Please guys come, and also new corporate partners and the batch startups for one big picture all together, so that we have a memory from this day. Thank you all for making this day such a success and for the work that has been behind it. It's going to be a full stage. Please all join Eva, everyone who's part of the startup Creasphere, and I have no clicker. Okay, great. So big applause to the startup Creasphere team, please, everybody, and also thank you to the audience for being so supportive. Thank you. Wer hat denn den Klicker? So thank you for joining me on stage. Thank you. So this is the team behind the day and the evening. And if you want to stay in touch, feel free to join us for the kickoff. The next batch is right around the corner. We already heard some topics that we will address then. And also stay in touch through Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn on our Startup Creasphere homepage as well. And with that, now is the end. Thank you for joining. See you at the pool. We have umbrellas in the entrance, and we will have drinks and aperitif at the barbecue. So thank you for joining, and see you there.